Good. What's the crack today?
1st of October, that's the crack.
Unbelievable. Mortgage day today. My mortgage comes out on the 1st of every month, so that's what dominates my mind.
Does it register in your brain on
at the start of it, like January 1st, February 1st,
it's on the 1st,
March 1st.
right.
It's always on the 1st.
So it's a good day then, isn't it?
No, it's fine, but it always is. It's not like first. Oh, blooming hell, the mortgage.
Oh yeah, here she
today.
comes. The other. Do you have your direct debits? Do they kick out on the one date, or do you have a number of things coming out at different times in the month? I'd rather have the one hit because you know what you have then.
A lot's in the final week. Credit union is in the final week of the month, and then the mortgage then the first of the month. So
yeah,
I'll be brassic now till the 18th.
I'll lend you a favour. I'll not see a man stuck, Give you a coffee.
Fiver wouldn't get me out of my hole, boy.
Oh, gee, you need a few euros with you now on Friday.
What's happening?
What's you heading out to Dublin?
Kilkenny, isn't it? Yeah.
What's Kilkenny?
Yeah.
That's a brave old yonder, isn't it?
It is. It's a couple of hours past Dublin, is it?
I think it could be. I'm not too sure.
Anyway, it'll be grand.
So what time do you
1
think?
hour past Dublin.
What time do you think? What time he's going to head then?
Probably 9
in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
God, that's she's making a day of it then.
No, because by the time you get down there and then the awards start at 6 or 7.
God, they start early, don't they? Right, you'll be in bed by 9. No, you'll be swinging from the chandeliers.
I know. There's not a thing on our social media about it. Nothing, right? I was on Ocean FM's Facebook page. Hello, we're delighted to be.
So why don't you do a social media post and stop you yamming about it?
Ask me, go away, Bay FM.
You're lucky that.
Well, right, it's like a secret up here. Say nothing.
Well, you're lucky I'm talking about it to you this last couple of days, bumming you up. Give me a good luck, right?
Hey, have a goodie. Thanks very much, Lee Good. She's back with you, of course, tomorrow morning at 6:30. It is 9 o'clock now, though. Let's get a news update and cross over to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. Belfast Crown Court is expected to hear from key witnesses for the first time in the trial of Soldier F. The former paratrooper is accused of murdering James Ray and William McKinney on Bloody Sunday in Derry in 1972. 13 people were shot dead during a civil rights march. He's also accused of 5 attempted murder. He's pleading not guilty, to all charges. Chelsea Keeley has more.
Over the past few weeks, this trial has been closely followed by families of those who died and veteran supporters. Today, survivors and civilian witnesses are due to give evidence. It's after Judge Patrick Lynch ruled that some hearsay evidence can be included in the case.
Donegal County Council says it's been engaging with the ISPCA regarding its planned withdrawal from the Donegal Dog Warden service from next year. The council says the primary focus is to engage a smooth transition of the Dog Warden service over the coming months. The closure of the ISPCA centre at Ballyar near Letterkenny is also being raised in those discussions. Members are concerned at the potential implications of the ISPCA's imminent takeover by the Dublin SPSA. This week, Councillor Noel Jordan moved a motion calling on the council to provide assistance to the smaller pet rescue centres across the county because of the pressures they're now facing. He says it's vital that a mechanism is found to reopen the facility at Ballyar.
It's a matter of urgency that the centre opens, or they come to some compromise. That centre has to open because there's huge strain on the smaller centres, particularly animals in need. They've been all reaching out to us. They're overburdened with animals here, nowhere to send them, and they have to transport these animals to Longford as the closest centre. So it's not sustainable the way it is.
The Love 30 campaign will hold a rally outside the Dáil tomorrow calling for safer speed limits. Members of the group will make a presentation to politicians beforehand highlighting the trends around vulnerable road user deaths and serious injuries. The campaign has accused the Department of Transport of doing a U-turn on plans to introduce a default 30km/h speed limit in urban areas. And the Tourism Minister will address concerns about the industry at a major gathering today. The Irish Tourism Industry Confederation's annual conference will hear calls for support in the budget after a drop in visitor numbers. With more, here's Aidan Delaney.
This year's conference is titled Resilience in an Uncertain World and reflects the uneasy feeling many operators have after a more quiet than usual year. CSO numbers for 2025 so far point to an 11% decline in inbound visitor numbers, while the amount spent by those visitors is also down. Tourism Minister Peter Burke will be among a number of high-profile speakers at the event in Kilkenny, with industry leaders saying tourism is at a critical juncture. They want the Dublin Airport passenger cap to be lifted after plans calling for the same were introduced at Cabinet yesterday.
Weather forecast cloudy with scattered outbreaks of rain and drizzle. Top temperatures 15 to 17 degrees Celsius in moderate southerly winds. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 10 o'clock. In the interim, check all the day's news on highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning.
The leaky bathroom tap. Tomorrow. The squeaky kitchen door. Tomorrow. Starting early morning yoga. Tomorrow. Some things are too important to leave until tomorrow. At Irish Life, we believe it's better to act today, to take care of your health and finances. To get started, search Irish Life or speak to your financial broker or financial advisor. A better life with Irish Life. Irish Life Health DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Irish Life Assurance plc, trading as Irish Life, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning. You're very welcome along to the 9 till noon show here in Highland Radio. For this Wednesday, it is in fact the 1st of October 2025, 4 minutes past 9. How are you all keeping? I do hope you're very well indeed. It's a damp enough old start around the northwest this morning. Maybe wherever you're listening, it's the same. Or if you're outside the region, a little bit better. Who's to say? We're here, though, to keep you company for the next 3 hours. We've got loads lined up for you, of course. The usual mix of news and analysis and the stories behind the news headlines, creating our own stories, as you can imagine. Features where we chat to people about stories that might be important to you, and your comments too. Very important part of the show. Get them into us as the morning progresses. If there's something you wish to raise or a topic you think you should be discussing, 086 60 25,000. WhatsApps and texts to that number, and you can send voice notes to that number as well to WhatsApp if that suits you. 07491 25,000. Caroline is taking your calls as always, or email comments@highlandradio.com. And just to remind you, you can watch the programme if you're at home on your smart TV, your Fire Stick, or wherever you have one of those. We're on the YouTube app. We stream the show in its entirety. You can just type in Highland Radio Ireland and we are there for you across our Facebook pages and on the X platform as well. We heard a story there a few days ago about how much it costs really to own a house and how much you have to be earning, and the Finn Valley Voices drilled into those figures a little bit. Pat Holland writes that second-hand semi-detached homes in Donegal have topped 200,000 for the first time, and potential buyers are feeling the pinch. Just 1,100 homes were purchased in the county last year, a drop of over 100 or 8% on the figure for the previous year, and the average age of buyers, 44, indicating that the sector most desperately in need, those with young families, are out in the cold. The median wage of those who managed to purchase a house, €61,000 a year. That's almost 6%. The old mortgage rule of thumb, 3 to 3.5 times your earnings, still holds in Donegal, where average household income is below $1,000 a week. House purchases is impossible for most of us. That is the stark reality. The data doesn't lie. You really need to be earning around €66,000 to buy your average semi-detached in this county. And not much property changing hands, just 1,000 sales, 1,100 sales of properties last year. There you go. How's a semi-detached in excess of 200 now? Speedy process in relation to the awful triple murder in Louth. A man has appeared in court charged with murdering 3 members of his family at their home in County Louth. This is in the Irish Independent. Robert O'Connor, 31, appeared before a special sitting of Drogheda District Court yesterday evening. The bodies of Louise O'Connor, 56, her husband Mark, 54, and their son Evan, 27, were found at the property on Monday morning. An investigation was launched and a man was arrested near the scene and taken into Garda custody. Yesterday evening, Mr. O'Connor of Drumgowna in Louth Village was brought before the court to be formally charged with 3 counts of murder. Family members, including Robert's brother Cian, were in court for the proceedings along with senior investigating Gardaí. The accused is charged with the murders of his mother, father and younger brother at their family home. Detective Garda Shane O'Malley gave evidence of arresting the accused for the purpose of charging him at 4:43pm yesterday at Drogheda Garda Station. The court heard the defendant made no reply after caution when the charges were put to him at 5:45pm. Solicitor Paul Moore requested that his client receive psychiatric treatment in custody and applied for legal aid. Both requests were granted. It's just tragedy on tragedy on tragedy in that awful case. And as you heard on the show yesterday, Louise and Mark were well known, not just obviously in their home county of Louth, but around the country for the various works that they did. On to the Irish Times now, and a study has been done on rising sea levels and its impact on various counties around the country. More than 100,000 houses and commercial buildings, including many new builds, are at increased risk of being affected by extreme coastal events, according to the latest analysis of every Eircode in Ireland. The projection by Gamma Risk includes potential insurance costs from storms made worse by climate change, amounting to 4.5 billion in a worst-case scenario post-2050. The analytics company evaluates risk for local authorities and insurance companies using advanced modelling and mapping. In Donegal, we're up there. Obviously, Dublin would have the highest potential claims. Then it's Clare, Louth, Cork, Galway, Limerick, and then Donegal at 165 million plus change. So if there were a catastrophic weather event post 2050, I beg your pardon, Donegal would be one of the worst affected counties with claims in excess of 185 million, and we also rank high in estimate of rebuild costs. So we're still building houses in strange places, it has to be said, and we've a history of it. I don't know why. You can't get planning in the most obvious of places, but you can get planning then effectively to build a house in a floodplain. Sometimes it seems it doesn't make sense. What else doesn't make sense is the fact that the way the system's set up, low-income families must fork out a third of their weekly income to afford a healthy diet, new research shows. How does it make sense? This is in the Irish Daily Mail that, more healthy food is more expensive. So those with the least to spend can't buy those healthy options. And that's why you see, every action has a reaction. And that's why you see in some of these reports about people's health, be it obesity or cancer or whatever it might be, people from poorer demographics are often more adversely affected. And it comes down to things like this, food choices. Bad food, effectively, is cheaper. The latest Safe Good Food Basket study highlights challenges facing families at a time when figures confirm food price inflation is running at 4.7% for the year. Safe Food, the All-Ireland organisation that promotes food safety and healthy eating, also found that households with a teenager had food bills 20% higher than families who had children of preschool and primary school age. I'm not surprised. A lot of them, they can wolf the food down and not really put on any weight because their metabolism is so strong and they eat. Researchers found that households reliant on social welfare spent a larger percentage of take-home income on food compared to households with an employed adult. Typically, Safe Food said families on low incomes tend to eat less well, which can contribute to higher levels of excess weight and corresponding health complications such as heart disease and type 2 diabetes. And as I say, when you see studies in those areas, often that rings true. A tragic case down the country, and one maybe potentially a word to the wise if it didn't seem obvious to you. And it's in the Irish Daily Star. It's in all papers, but I'm taking it from the Star. The husband of a woman electrocuted in the bath by a charging mobile phone has called for more warnings about the dangers of using them near water. Mother of three, Anne-Marie O'Gorman, 46, was pronounced dead at Beaumont Hospital in Dublin on October 30th last year. She'd been rushed there by ambulance after her husband had found her unresponsive in an ensuite bathroom at their family home. Joe O'Gorman told Dublin District Coroner's Court yesterday he'd left home at around 6:40 p.m. to drop the couple's youngest daughter, Megan, to her first disco in Portmarnock. He told Coroner Crona Gallagher he had a brief 23-second call with his wife at 7:58 p.m. while driving home at a time he believed she might have already been in the bath. After arriving home to the house in Santry, Mr. O'Gorman said he went into the bathroom and found Anne-Marie lying on her side in the bath with no sign of movement. And she had been on her phone. The phone fell into the water, and this, of course, electrocuted her. I think sometimes people, and I'm not speaking of this lady and her tragic death, sometimes I think people think it's an incredibly low voltage in those phone chargers. But he's saying there should be, because phones often now, they say they're IPS rated, that they can go 6 or 7 feet underwater, and he believes that might give people the false impression that you could submerge your phone in the bath. That being said, I would hope, and it's, the more warnings the better. I hope no one would do it purposely whilst it's charged I think most people might know that that's presents a greater risk, but maybe we do need more warnings, do we? 086 60 25,000. It's up to Hamas now. It's being framed as such on the international stage, whether or not there is peace in the Middle East. And in The Sun, US President Donald Trump warned Hamas it is 3 to 4 days to accept his Gaza peace plan, or it will pay in hell. Mr. Trump says he has brokered a deal between Israel and Arab and Muslim nations to end the bloodbath reported to have claimed more than 66,000 Palestinian lives. But fanatical leaders of Iran-backed terror group Hamas have yet to respond, raising fears of a bloody last stand in Gaza City. And the one thing too, it's not really in the papers or it's not anywhere really. You know, it's the Palestinians that have paid the price here. 66,000 of them have perished or been murdered and wiped out, genocide. And they're not really at the table. You know, it's America, it's Israel, it's other Arab nations, Muslim countries negotiating, and now it's been put to Hamas. And the fate of, millions of Palestinian people are in the hands of Hamas, effectively, you could say, whether or not you like the deal. Where's the consultation with the people of Palestine? Why don't they do some sort of I don't know, I know it's very difficult, but some sort of a snap referendum or what have you, try and sample what the views of the people of the Palestinians are, because if Hamas, which are a small group relative to the Palestinian population, if they say, nah, stuff this, we're not getting involved in this, it's the Palestinians that pay the price, and yet they've had absolutely no say in the peace deal or whether it should be accepted or not, which seems really quite bizarre. It's been imposed upon them, and it comes down to Hamas. And who's to say how it might be framed so that Israel can go in and do whatever they want to do anyway? It's really quite worrying. No consultation with the Palestinians at all. Finally, the irony, if it's a prescribed illegal organisation that the world, in inverted commas, once wiped out, and it's Hamas who has the fate of millions of Palestinians in its hands, why would you trust that organisation who you completely distrust with the lives of millions of people? It beggars belief to me, I'll be completely honest with you. And that's, if I came from Mars and had a look at the situation, it still would make no sense. And finally, in the Irish Daily Mirror, the man convicted of raping and murdering Donegal woman Danielle McLaughlin is seeking a suspension of his life sentence until the High Court in Bombay, India, decides on his appeal. Now, in speaking to Danielle's mom and the legal team post his conviction, they knew it was not necessarily over. They knew that he had the right to appeal, and they didn't really say much about that at that time, that, they were going to let the judicial process play out. But still, when you might think that you've got some of this behind you, and here it is raising its head again. Well, this has left Danielle's heartbroken mum, Andrea Brannigan, and her family shocked and in disbelief that he might actually get out whilst appealing. They were well aware that he was going to appeal. Vicat Bhagat, 31, who was sentenced to life imprisonment in February after being found guilty of rape and murder of Danielle, 28, is to have his application for the suspension of his sentence listed on October 13th. The body of Danielle from Buncrana was found by a farmer in a field near Goa, or in Goa. It's a popular area with tourists, and that was in March 14th, 2017. And still another date for the family to contend with, October 13th. And you just have to tick along as much as you can in life with that deadline looming. It's one after the other. Anyway, we're thinking on Andrea and the family, of course, as they await the outcome of that. And it would give them some solace, of course, if someone who's convicted of the most heinous of crimes were not allowed out to roam the streets whilst he's appealing that conviction. It would make no sense to release him whilst he's appealing, for me anyway. But I'm not really au fait, obviously, with the Indian judicial system.
Ocean Tiles and Bathrooms Pennyburn Derry stock clearance sale. Save big on vanity units, taps, mirrors, radiators and more. Enjoy up to 40% off My Life and as much as 60% off Crosswater. Starts Monday 29th of September, 9 a.m. and Saturday 4th of October, 1 p.m. Don't miss these massive savings at Ocean Tiles and Bathrooms Pennyburn Derry. Newspapers are kindly supplied by Cosgrove Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny. Now with the new look Mountaintop Diner.
Welcome to Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms in Donegal Town. Discover affordable luxury with their bespoke fitted furniture solutions. With almost 30 years of serving Ireland and the Northwest, we're your trusted experts. Visit us Monday to Friday 9am until 5pm and on Saturdays from 9am until 3:30pm. Book your free consultation today on 074 9725822 or visit cherrymore.ie. Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, where affordability and luxury combine.
If you lose a partner, practical help can make a difference. The Bereaved Partners Contributory Pension now includes qualified cohabitants. If your cohabiting partner died before July 21st, 2025, payments may be backdated to January 22nd, 2024, or their date of death, whichever is later, but you must apply on or before January 21st, 2026. To learn more, visit gov.ie/BPCP. A Government of Ireland initiative brought to you by the Department of Social Protection.
Getting your first electric car is like meeting your partner's family for the first time. Nerves are normal. You were stressed about awkward silence with her dad. Now you chat for hours about sport. You worried her mum wouldn't like you. Now she likes you better than her own son. Likewise, once you experience how great an EV can be, you'll never look back, especially if it's a Skoda. Order your electric Enyaq or Elrock today.
Skoda.
Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clar Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 074 9721 396.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by Eircode, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. Eircode, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is?
The time now is 20 minutes past 9. We spoke yesterday to a young man called Aidan, who is a car enthusiast, and he was pointing out the fact that you can go to other areas, other parts of the country, whereby there are spaces where people, whatever age they are, whatever gender they are, can go and take their cars and diff. And sometimes, you can have no revving outside the venue or no modified exhausts to try and suppress noise and what have you. And he says, and he argued, and he was backed by social worker Billy Bander, that, this would perhaps also, give younger people, particularly, I suppose, a space to enjoy their cars, let steam off, and take any of this misbehaviour off the roads. Right, John's with me. Hi, John. Good morning to you. Thanks for your call.
Hi. Morning, how you doing?
Not so bad at all. What's your take on this, John? Would you agree with Aidan?
Well, I would agree with him. We live out in the Manor area, and my young fella has a car, and he has a couple of friends. And, now that they can't go to the track and stuff, they're out in the road messing about, different at night and stuff. And I just think Ferries is a great place for the kids. They spend that much time getting these cars together, getting them ready, and then when they've nowhere to go, like, Ferries track, they're going to go out on the road, and they're out on the road, and, it's my son, and I give out to him the whole time, and he's out with no insurance, no tax in that car, and, they're like, somebody is going to get killed on these roads.
It's very hard to speak to young people, and we've all been young before. I mean, to have, your pride and joy car sitting there outside the house and not being able to sort of use it or have the crack in it, we have to understand that not everyone's into this, but lots of people are. Young people are going to take risks. They don't understand, like you do as you get older, what the consequences of these risks are.
I understand that, but, if there were a place for these kids to hang out, that there's somewhere for them to go, it's the same as like going to the community centre or going to the boxing club. Kids that are not into training, if they're into their cars, they're into their cars, Yeah. You're not going to take that out of them. They spend that much time getting these cars ready, and then they're all psyched up, and then whether it's nowhere to go, they're going to go out on the road. And they go down to Ferries, and it's, it's well managed, and there's no trouble in there. Everybody gets on, and it's great for the kids.
And you're saying it's a much safer environment too, obviously.
Well, it has to be a safer environment if it stops them out on the road. my son's out on the roads, but if the car's there, if I go away, and them boys are out in the evening time. No, they're not out all the time, but I know when the cars, when they're out on it,
And what does that mean? They're going to a
he's
junction?
not old enough to have his license yet.
Does that mean they're going to a junction or something, or a wide part?
Yeah, they're
of
going to
road?
a junction, and you can see the junctions. They're all the tire marks and stuff. And it is going to come to somebody is going to get hurt because when they're out there, they're I guess they want to show off the work they've done on their cars and to their friends, and it's all
Yeah.
They're a whole group of them, they all meet up and, maybe once a month or whatever, they're a whole pile of them meet up, somewhere and go different out by Glenveagh or wherever they go, but if there were a place for them to go and, they go down to ferries, there's food, everything there, it's not expensive either, and it keeps them off the streets, They're not walking up around the town doing drugs or drinking. They're all into the cars.
Mm-hmm.
I just think, there have to be somewhere for these people to go. They're down the country. There's a pile of places they can go. But, if they want to go down there, somebody has to take them. It's more expense. They just need somewhere to blow off a bit of steam.
Yeah. All right, John, listen, thanks very much for that. An honest assessment of the situation. I appreciate it. Michael, what's your take on this? Good morning to you, Michael.
Morning, Greg. How's things?
Not too bad. You're actually local to the area of where Ferry's Yard is too, so it'll be interesting to get your insight into this.
I'll be local enough. I would say no more than a mile and a half away from Ferry's Yard there. But more or less just the same as what John was saying. It was always. It was always a well-run, kind of well-marshalled place down there for young fellas to go. Whenever my young fella was a lot younger, we're going back years, but he would have been interested to get down and watch, and as well as for the people going down to do the actual diffing. It was great there. On a weekend, you could go down. It was a good place to go down and spectate. It was very safe, very well ran, and you'd feel comfortable taking your young people down there, I suppose then as he got older, then he wanted to get a car himself and get at it himself. And sure, of course, you had a place where it wasn't on the roads. It was in an environment for that. Of course, you were going to let them. Whenever he got his own car.
And Michael, do you think it does keep them off the road? If they have a safe space? Because, also when you're younger, that little bit of sort of threat or danger or, flirting with the law or breaking the law, maybe that's part of it. I'm not talking about your kids now, don't get me wrong, but if we did have the likes of Ferry's Yard open again, do you think it keeps it off the road?
Well, it has to. It would surely promote a far safer environment for it. As I say, all through the years that I was going there, you would never have thought that a young fellow would ever be interested in going out and going mad on the roads, because he had that place to go to,
I get you, yeah. All right, there seems to be quite a lot of people in favour of this. Aidan received no contact back from local authority members as of yet, but a lot of people seem to see the sense in it. We'll see. Listen, Michael, thanks for that. I appreciate your time. If you have any views on that, keep them coming into us. 086 60 25,000. Morning. There's nothing for young people who are not sporty or into the GAA. Buncrana tried for 40 years for a skate park. Still none. No leisure centre either, but plenty of money for a big ugly sign. I don't mind that sign, but I take your point. That's your view. And this conversation really is about people, young people particularly, it seems, who are interested in their cars. They don't drink, they don't do drugs. They're not involved in criminality. All of their love and passion goes into the cars, and then they've got nowhere really to sort of exercise that passion. A caller says, in a county that has very little young ones to do to keep them entertained and out of mischief, the old designated diffing centres are definitely needed. Let them burn rubber and let off steam in a safer manner. Let them have the bit of crack in a safe environment, says a listener. Another, I completely agree. Providing a safe place for diffin is a practical solution that benefits everyone. It's surprising this yard was rejected when road safety is a hot topic in Donegal. A designated area would reduce risks on our roads and guard our resources. Public roads aren't the place for them to perform these stunts due to safety concerns. Having designated places in the county needs to happen. That way enthusiasts can enjoy their driving skills without putting themselves or others at risk. And of course, you know, the element of putting others at risk is... The element of putting others at risk is the fact that maybe they don't have any tax insurance or cover. Ferries is a great place for them kids when you live in Manor. Does that man not think about the people that live near ferries, Thorndale, Elmwood, down amongst other estates? They're 300 yards away as the crow flies, and the noise is ridiculous. Typical. It's grand when it's not near them. Yeah, I was sort of thinking in the back of my head, because I don't really know the geography of it. I was waiting for people who live nearby to maybe comment about the noise. Would it matter if that noise finished at 10 or if loud exhausts or revving outside the venue, you know, those rules were put in place? If you do live in the area, I'd be very interested in your views in relation to that. A caller says, who's paying for their tyres and modifications? Well, they are. You know, a lot of these young people are flat out working and doing odd jobs, doing proper jobs, whatever it might be. And they're not spending their money on cigs, they're not spending it on drink, and they're putting every penny they have into their cars. And if you don't sort of spend money in other areas, it does free up resources for that. And a lot of the work they can do on the cars themselves as well. On the subject of diffin, no licence, no tax and no insurance, but the problem is no track. How would they get to the track? Jesus wept, says a caller. I presume on trailers, they'd tow the cars there, I'd imagine. I mean, you can't drive the car there, right? So, and it'd be like shooting fish in a barrel for Gardaí if they wanted to crack down on that. Just sit outside the venue waiting for cars to pull up. But I presume, you know, a lot of them might have a wee flatbed trailer available to them. A caller says, what's the difference in stock racing and diffing in ferries? They are safe down there, away from the traffic. What's the problem with not allowing it? Well, I must have a look through, actually, as to the reasons it was refused. But there is the concern of local residents as well, which we haven't heard an awful lot from. I'm going to be honest with you, so I don't want to over-amplify that either, in case it's not as big an issue as the one text we received, or the one of two texts. Right, okay, listen, keep your comments coming into us. Back after these messages.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
If you're going through a difficult time, you're not alone. There are now more mental health support services available for men. These include free counselling sessions, in person or online, as well as confidential phone support, available 7 days a week. Getting support can make a real difference to you and your loved ones. To find out more about the full range of free services available, visit yourmentalhealth.ie/men. From the HSE.
Running a business isn't easy, but accessing support should be. The new National Enterprise Hub is the single source for all government support for your business. With over 180 supports in one place, it's easier than ever to find grants, advice, training, and more. And don't worry about not knowing what you need. Our helpful team will guide you every step of the way. Visit neh.gov.ie to learn how we can help. The National Enterprise Hub. Support starts here, an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Discover amazing deals at Floyd's Restaurant, Ballymagorry, Strabane. Enjoy a 2-course menu for £19.95 Monday to Friday, Euro for pound night Wednesday and steak night Thursday. Sunday carvery from 12:30 to 3:30. Party packages and function rooms available. Call 02871 382905 to book.
Chairman of Township Colin Ferreter and Shaw, Biggie Lynn Ihi Kidin, Yalahi Rulya Bulya, and Shaw Highland Radio, Sharku Gia Hokta Club, Nurve, Skull Nation to Lurgy Brack, Biosa Studio, and Mahajurta, August La Osculture College to Ali, and Sean Letcher Kennan. Rulya Bulya, Sharku Gia Hokta Ihi Kidin, Biggie Lynn.
Right, now, more of your texts coming in. The situation in the Middle East. Even if Hamas agrees to the so-called peace deal, Israel will not stop until they totally level Gaza. Donald Trump and a war criminal have tailored the 20-point plan to favour Israel totally, and Palestine is not even considered. Yeah, well, it's as an individual state. I agree. I've read through the points of the plan, and I suppose I'm not really au fait enough to know the ins and outs of that. We're joined on the programme now by Sinn Féin councillor John Seamus O'Farrill. Good morning to you, John Seamus. How are you?
Good morning, Greg. I'm well, thank you.
Right, Glenveagh Castle. There's been disruptions of different forms to services there for different reasons. You hear for different reasons. But you're calling specifically for a reopening of Glenveagh Castle tours 7 days a week. What's the situation at the moment?
The situation at the moment, Greg, is that the castle is closed on the Monday and the Friday due to the staff, the lacking of staff. According to, that's the question Peter Doherty raised at the Dáil recently, and there's no plans to, employ more people to have this facility opened again. It sends a bad message out in relation to Glenveagh and the tourist industry here in Donegal that it's only open 5 days a week.
Yeah, and if you're on holidays here Wednesday to Wednesday, you know what I mean, you don't expect to turn up to, one of the jewels in our county's crown and the signs up saying no tourists today.
Yeah, or even during the year as well, that the probably 7 or 8 bank holidays, and families tend to travel, take the families away for the weekend, and coming to Donegal. If you come to Donegal on a bank holiday Monday and you plan to go to Glenveagh, you can't go into the castle, which is, to me, is ridiculous. The main question here, Greg, is that we need to get this resolved soon as, because the amount of tourists that come into the area over the last number of years to the castle, it's increasing all the time.
It's actually kind of
facilities there.
It's kind of embarrassing. In fact, it is embarrassing. So if you imagine a scenario where we're spending millions to try and attract tourists from America, so let's say, a group of a family of 6 from Germany land over here, and they say, right, let's go to Glenveagh. They've spent millions advertising this spot. It must be fantastic. And they land up there and it's closed due to a lack of staff. They would say, well, what kind of a tourism industry is this county, this country providing? It's embarrassing. It's actually embarrassing.
Yeah, exactly what I said before, sending a bad message out in relation to Donegal and Glenveagh National Park. To me, the main question is, if it's staffing related, was there advertisement done in relation to recruiting new staff? We need to give them the proper, the proper training and all this and all that with new staff coming on board. But at the end of the day, as you said, Greg, it looks terrible, and people coming into the area and the local economy gets hit as well.
That's it, isn't it? It's not just
it's only open 5 days.
Yeah, it's the spend locally as well. It's other businesses around it. You take it off your tour. You just don't go near that area potentially.
Yeah. But you have Mount Eircode there as well. Huge amount of tourists come on a daily basis and a weekend basis. Number of charity events. You have you have the Donegal Airport, and you have some lovely beaches in the west. And I'm sure all of them people call into Glenveagh when they're here in the area in the west of Donegal. And to me, it's mind-boggling that the castle, the main attraction in Glenveagh, is absolutely beautiful. The gardens, the lake, the scenery is absolutely fantastic, and that the fact that Monday and Friday is closed.
So, what is the upshot? And we can, if you don't have the answer, we can make our own inquiries. Has the management at Glenveagh National Park applied to is it Department of Environment, Parks and Wildlife? Have they applied for additional staff and been refused?
Well, that's the question I want to ask them. Has the staffing requirement, how many staff did need? Has the advertisement been put in local papers? And how long are we going to wait until we get this up and running again? That's the question I would like to ask.
Is there an active recruitment program?
Your question there, is there an active recruitment program there? When was it advertised, and when will you see people in place?
Yeah, so those are the core issues. Well, I mean, we can contact them locally. I'm almost 100% sure we've covered this in the past and this has been ongoing.
I'm
and
sure
there was
we did, and probably other councillors.
there was just a little bit of a story behind
the
the story, if I remember correctly, but I don't want to speak off the top of my head. But look, as I say, you can't have part-time, one of your biggest tourism attractions. It's like shutting off Sleeve League 2 days a week, or
it's
shutting off Ironmore Island or wherever. It really is. It's poor form, and it's like a car that, do you ever have a car and it's playing up on you, but it's not actually going to fully brake, and you can't trust that car anymore?
I had many of them in my
Well, me too. I'm driving one at the moment, right? But that's what this is like. You distrust whether it's going to be open or not. All right, John Seamus, thanks for your time.
Yeah.
We'll see
Thank
if
you
we
very
can
much
get to
for
the
giving me
bottom of
time.
it. Slán, Sinn Féin Councillor John Seamus O'Farry there, 086 60 25,000. Maybe you're in Glenveagh and you can give us some information in relation to that. Is it as simple as there aren't enough staff? Have staff been applied for? Has whomever is the governing body, to say, was it Parks and Wildlife? Is it the Department of Environment? I'm not really quite sure. We'll find that out. If they said, we're not giving you any further staff, who chooses the days? Or is it about people being asked to do multiple jobs? I don't know, but we'll get to the bottom of it and find out what's going on. You've been texting in on various topics this morning in terms of the food we eat, and just a study today that shows that food inflation is running ahead of regular inflation for some reason or not. And I just find it interesting that we're very faithful to shops and big retailers, and they're all incredibly profitable, and they're all increasing their profits all the time. And yet the cost of food is going up all the while. And I wonder how much of these increases they're absorbing to try and repay our loyalty to them, if you know what I mean. Because there's people in this country that are struggling to actually eat, and certainly struggling to eat the right amount of foods. Yet we've got companies that are making, international companies, Irish companies, that are making an absolute fortune because they keep increasing their prices. Could they not absorb some of those? Or maybe one of them could step away and say, do you know what, for the next couple of years, maybe we could reduce our profits by 10% and make it more affordable, increase footfall to those shops. I'm not saying there's a cartel or anything like that, don't get me wrong, but it's just interesting that all of the brands that we're so loyal to, all are making fantastic profits, all are exceeding their expectations, and yet food's getting more expensive and some people can't eat correctly. There's something wrong there, I think, anyway. But this listener says malnourishment is the biggest cause of emergency department overcrowding throughout the country. Very little nourishment in the food we're eating as it travels too far. Until we address this, when the National Health Authority 2 years ago recommended that every citizen in the country should take vitamin D supplements from today, October till April, there's no incentive from our government to address this. But I mean, your people can choose to take those. Probably not. I must try that actually. Now, you kind of accept that you've got less energy and stuff in the winter. Maybe boosting one's vitamin intake might help. But does it help? I've tried it in the past and I just thought it was, I don't know. Anyway, let me know. Greg, I'm a truck driver and I can see into other cars. There was a girl on the phone this morning, the entire route of the dual carriageway into Letterkenny, held to her ear with no concern to anyone around her. Yeah, it still happens. And I think there was a survey that showed something like 6 or 7% of us do that. I think it's higher. Hi, Greg. Please highlight this on the show if it's okay to do so. Oh, yes, I actually did. Yeah, okay. I've already mentioned that. I'm a resident. I'll read this email before the break. I'm a resident of Ballybofane, Stranraer for over 40 years, but I've never experienced our roads in such a disgraceful state. For anyone who regularly travels through Ballybofane, Stranraer, or our neighbouring town of Castlefin, not only the main road but the approach roads are now in an appalling condition. From my understanding, the NRAs, or the TAI as they're called now, are responsible for the primary roads. Our local authority are responsible for local roads. So if you take this rule, does the primary road not run through these towns? If you've travelled from Donegal town to Letterkenny, the TII have spent vast sums of money resurfacing Lurgy, Brack and Drumkeen, and just this week, the 29th of September, are now doing resurfacing parts of Barnasmall Gap. Yet travel through Castlefin or the Twin Towns, you would have to ask who exactly plans the upkeep of these roads? What a fascinating point. I'm going to read on in a second, but when you think of the work that's going on in the Gap at the moment, McGrory's Bray being completely realigned and resurfaced, the work that's been done to improve Drumkeen and elsewhere, also obviously Lurgy-Brack, did I mention? McGrory's Bray, sorry, I meant to say, and Lurgy-Brack. Yeah, you go through Ballymface and Roller, and it's brutal. I was through it, obviously, and I wonder, I think the great crater of Maclay's Corner has been filled, has it? I didn't spot it, but maybe it hasn't been filled. We were talking about this great crater for quite a bit on the show. If you're a regular driver on that, let me know, was the crater filled? But anyway, whatever time I'm reading on here, whatever time they do start, there are that many potholes on uneven surfaces in the Twin Towns, they would need to close the main road off completely. The entire town will come to a complete standstill, God forbid. They do detour traffic around Dreenan, where the Trusk Road T-junction is a patchwork of balls of tar and has been this way for a number of years. Are there no council engineers ever travelling these roads? I can only imagine that our 6 local councillors are regularly hearing from locals on the dreadful condition of our roads. I can only summarise that they are not being listened to by Minister Darragh Cleary, who I believe was recently in the county. Maybe I'm mistaken that this is not poor road management, poor road maintenance conditions, but are the council's way of new traffic calming measures. Is this the same council who introduced 4 pedestrian crossing death traps for pedestrians? It wasn't the council, though, with no flashing lights or even a small speed bump or rumble strip warning motorists that they're approaching a crossing. These are serious accident or deaths waiting to happen. I'd like to have seen now if there was any safety statement with this idea. Finally, with the current state of our roads, apart from the ones the NRA control, it actually looks like our council go to the government with cap in hand looking for the crumbs that fall from the NRA's table. All right, a lot there. 08660 25,000.
Crawford Tiles Castle Finn final sale of the year. 2-day sale starts Friday 3rd of October and finishing 3 p.m. Saturday October 4th. 20% off all tiles, 10% off bathware and wood flooring. Job lots available. Remember, at Crawford Tiles Castle Finn, we've got it covered for you. Call 9143942. Fitters and delivery available.
Self-assessed income tax payers. The October 31st pay and file deadline is approaching. But if you pay and file through Ross, you will get an extension until the 19th of November. For more information or to register for Ross, visit www.revenue.ie/pay and file. Pay and file on time.
I had problems with my knees for about 7-8 years. I think I'd give Kingsbridge 5 stars just because of the support and help that they gave me before and after the surgery. I was a public patient and the HSE reimbursed the cost.
Public patients in the Republic of Ireland can get rapid access to cross-border surgeries at Kingsbridge private hospitals in Belfast and Derry, with medical costs reimbursed by the HSE. Find out more at kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com/cross-border. Kingsbridge, your fast track to 5-star care. Terms and conditions apply.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Refresh your wardrobe this season with key autumn-winter essentials. Discover our extensive range of fashion, accessories, homeware and more in-store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
So, cloudy today with scattered outbreaks of rain and drizzle. Highest temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees in moderate southerly winds. Now, we're going to get very unsettled weather on Friday. I just want to mention to you this to you now. I flagged it at the start of the week. But we're going to have very unsettled weather on Friday with very windy and wet conditions developing, turning cooler this weekend with more in the way of dry weather. Strong winds will persist on Saturday before easing somewhat on Sunday. So just a wee... Now, there's no talk at this point of structural damage or anything, but it's going to be unpleasant weather just in case that trampoline's still out or you haven't moved that garden furniture and you don't want to lose it. I'm not saying it's going to be catastrophic, right? But we're going to see strong winds. Now... Councillor Michael McClafferty is with me now. Good morning, Michael. Thanks for your time.
Good morning, Greg. Morning, listeners.
Eircodes, you've a concern about them?
Yeah, just a slight concern, Greg, to be fair. Just when listening to what I'm to say there this morning, you mentioned about the sea levels and so on rising. Clearly that is happening. There's no dispute about that, and it is happening in certain areas more so than others. But the situation with the Eircodes is, I suppose for some people, unfortunately, down through the years, particularly in the Celtic Tiger years, where their houses or housing estates got built, they are, as we see in recent times, deemed as floodplains. Some, unfortunately, have got flooded and so on. we all appreciate that aspect, and that's quite obvious where that's going to happen, where it's at. But on the other side of it is, it has come to light in recent times about insurance companies, people insuring their houses and so on, just going to renew their insurance or whatever, or maybe particularly leaving insurance to have and going to a new company, price of a new company anyway, and then the company comes back then and says that's a huge price because you're in risk of getting flooded.
Mm-hmm.
Your Eircode doesn't correspond, like. So I mean, there's all this to consider. Like, I know of one person got a ridiculous price, and they said they were in a danger of flood area. They're nowhere next to an flood area. Like.
Well, that was just in relation to that. Is that a turn of phrase, like saying they're nowhere near a flood area, or are they? In other words, if you think on it, are there spaces? What I'm trying to get to the bottom of is, are they using Eircodes for general areas or for specific threats, right? So do you think there's any argument in this case that you talk of that maybe in the townland that this neighbour or this person that you're familiar with, where they applied for insurance, that there is potentially a flood risk? Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to figure out, are they using Eircodes specifically or generally for areas?
Well, I don't know what way the insurance companies are viewing the Eircodes as such, if you like. Like, I know myself, for example, as far as I understand, my own house here where I live, I'm 300 feet above sea level. Like, the other house that I'm thinking on and mine that I know of will be something along the same lines. But the bottom line is, like, there will never be any risk of getting flooded. That's for sure.
Yeah.
In that respect that they're talking about. And the other thing is as well, as I was saying to Carolyn there before we went in the air there as well about the Eircodes. We all bang in the Eircodes now into our sat-navs, whatever, particularly when we're in strange places. Like, I know of one case there one day in Northern Ireland there across the border, such somebody went to the north with a lorry. They were taking 27 mile off course. They banged in the Eircode they had, 27 miles took them off course, like. So, I mean, there's all this as well. What I'm saying is just fine. If whatever corresponds going on with your Eircode, if that matches up, fine. But if you're in doubt, you're best checking it just to see.
Yeah, of course, definitely travel. Well, that's what I was going to ask. Like, do we know if you can appeal to an insurance company? Like, can you say, listen, you know, the information you have on my Eircode's not accurate, and, you know, will they allow you to demonstrate that it's wrong? Or, you know, it would be terrible if you ended up having to pay an extra high premium for no reason, if that makes sense.
Well, it does make sense, Greg, and that will be the case. You will pay the extra premium unless you challenge it, or unless you ask them for evidence. I don't know what was the answer to that particular case when it went that way, but that is the situation on it. Another case I know of because camper vans quite regularly. I'm only just using camper vans as an example. No swipe at camper vans, but it's just the fact of the matter is, camper vans quite regularly end up in this certain townland as well, this area, and despite the people in the certain townland rectifying it several times on Google Maps, when they look again, then it's put back again.
So what's happening there? Sorry, say that one more time.
Camper vans and others happen to go into this particular place that there's no need for them to go into. They're going in genuinely thinking the road is taking them somewhere where it doesn't. But the people in question and others have rectified it several times on Google Maps. Yeah. That's okay for a while, and then when they look down again, it's put back down again to go in there again. Like, so, I mean,
yeah, but you see,
you're kind of up against it as well. Like.
Well, what's happening is you've got the camper community probably identifying it as a place where you can go. Look, Google Maps or Waves or whatever one you're using. Like, you need to be able to tell them what kind of a vehicle you're in, because people will know listening around the county. Google Maps will send a camper van or a caravan up a road that it would be okay for a car in. It's a messy old system that, and people just follow, as you've outlined earlier, follow the sat nav blindly. Right, okay, it'll be interesting actually to find out officially if you can make a case or an argument. In fact, you know what, our listeners are the best pool for that, to find out if you can contest your Eircode. You know, if you can say, look, I'm 300 feet above sea level, I'm not near the sea, no river, I'm not a flood risk. Can you make that, you know, can you reflect that in the insurance premium? We'll check that out, Michael. Thanks for that. Appreciate it.
Oh, okay, Greg. Thank you.
Bye-bye. So have you successfully appealed an Eircode flood risk quote and got it cheaper? Right, some comments as we head towards the news at 10 o'clock. And this was an email we got in, and we try and help wherever we can. Can anyone explain why divorce cases are taking so long? My solicitor says that they're going back to 2018 with some cases. Wow, that's 7 years. Donegal's supposed to be the only county with this problem. What is going on? If there is abuse in the marriage, this is wrong. It's a drawn-out process. I instigated my divorce in 2020. My case is only coming at the end of case registration. This is miles from being concluded. There is something wrong with the system. So we got onto the court services to find out what's going on because, this is more than just an inconvenience. And Jerry Curran, the media relations advisor with the court service, responded as follows. In general, the waiting time for a contested divorce in Donegal is between 48 to 52 weeks. That's effectively a year. Shorter periods are experienced where matters are not contested by either party. The waiting time depends on many factors, and sometimes cases are just not ready to proceed as disclosure may be outstanding from one or both sides. Issues over financial matters, property diversion, pensions, child custody and access will all significantly lengthen the time that a case goes in case progression before the court registrar, before it gets listed for hearing. So, I'm reading between the lines here, and it sounds to me like maybe the other side of this former relationship is filibustering, or whatever that phrase is, purposely trying to drag it out to make it very difficult for the other person. Because in general, and the court's service obviously have access to this information, a contested divorce case normally runs 48 to 52 weeks, shorter periods where it's not contested. So if it's going on for 5 years, I would imagine the other party is withholding information that is required to progress it, but perhaps doing it within the time frame to purposely frustrate it, but not fall foul, if that makes sense, which perhaps shouldn't be allowed to happen, because if that were an abuser, for an example, that allows them to continue to perpetrate the abuse long after potentially the relationship has ended. So maybe something that needs looking at. If you've experience of that, or you can help that listener, very much appreciate it, to 08660 25,000. Now, Reed Diffing. Hello, my elderly parents live beside the Diffing track in Manor-Cunningham, and they are being badly plagued by the noise when the track is active. Loud noise goes on for hours, and afterwards the driver take to the back roads. This will only teach some people to do donuts, and that they will then take that behaviour onto public roads in the evenings. I have a dash cam footage of someone doing donuts outside the tyre shop close to me. These people have zero concern for anyone's health and safety, and now we're going to reward these people. It would be better if we arrested them and put them in jail and destroyed their cars. They've no concern for our safety, so I've no concern for theirs when we lock them up. Now, that's people that are out there breaking the law. Are there not, though, other young people who are saying, right, we're not prepared to break the law, give us somewhere to diff? Now, the one location has come up over and over again. There's no campaign specifically for that, I don't think, somewhere for them. But I don't think we should tar all people who like their cars and like to diff with the same brush as this idiot that's diffing on a public road, if that makes sense. I drive a Lexus car and totally agree we need somewhere to do this safely. Providing a safe place would keep us off the roads. That's the view of another listener there. I agree with Michael Reed the Diffing. Stop rally cars racing in Glenveagh National Park on the R254. They block the road and do time trials. If I blocked a regional road, I'd be arrested. Why do rally drivers get a free pass? I wonder, is that sort of like a follow-up of a previous concern we had in the lead up to the rally there? Councillor Joy Beard has sent in this voice message on this issue.
Good morning, it's Councillor Joy Beard. I have been listening to the show yesterday and today, representation being made about a dedicated place for diffing. And I'd just like to say, as a local representative, I have received no correspondence from anyone. It's an idea I would like to explore to see how feasible it would be. But obviously there's a lot of discussion needing to be had. But to date, I've not received any information whatsoever, no emails, no phone calls. So if anybody wants to reach out to me, I'm here and happy to listen. So I just wanted to put that on the record that I'm a local representative and I haven't heard anything, no emails or no phone calls in relation to this. But it's a very interesting idea and something that I do think needs to be explored.
Well, fair point. You can only work on what you've on information you've received. Councillor Joy Beard, Joe Beard, prepared to Why is my mic popping? I don't know why it's popping. Anyway, Joe Beard prepared to work in relation to that. Right, and don't forget you can also send your voice messages via WhatsApp to 08660 25000.
Are you completing your UCAS application? CAFRE offers degree courses in food, agriculture, equine and horticulture. Come along to CAFRE's October Open Days. Talk to students, meet staff and explore the practical facilities at Northern Ireland's specialist agri-food and land-based college. Book now to attend an open day at Greenmount Campus, Enniskillen Campus and Loughry Campus. Register online at cafre.ac.uk or visit Discover CAFRE on Facebook.
Flowgas Solar can save a business thousands on their electricity bills. Just ask Brian Kennedy from Kennedy Spar, Ballyconnell.
By installing our panels, we'll save over €10,000 a year on energy costs. That's a no-brainer for a business like ours.
You can save on solar too. Visit flowgas.ie/business or call 041 214 9500. Terms and conditions apply. Savings based on generating 49,000 kilowatt hours per year, equivalent to savings of over €10,000 annually based off 12 months.
Looking for a career in Donegal with real purpose and growth potential? Tata Consultancy Services, proud winner of Workplace of the Year, is hiring customer service professionals. Be part of a passionate, innovative team with great opportunities to grow your tech career right here in Donegal. Apply today at tcscareers.ie. That's tcscareers.ie.
Discover the Address Sligo, your stylish escape on the wild Atlantic Way. Savour local flavours at North Restaurant. Relax in our indulgent spa and thermal suite. And enjoy breaks from just €160 per night. Book direct at theaddresssligo.com.
The address is always the right address.
The Bank of Ireland in Letterkenny currently has a vacancy for a welcome advisor. Successful applicants will have the opportunity to work closely with personal and business customers and build a career with the bank. Submit your CV to Yvonne Bowl in Bank of Ireland Letterkenny or email yvonne.bowl@boi.com.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. The Gaza Aid Flotilla is reportedly being circled by an Israeli warship. The Global Summit Flotilla says its captain was forced to take a sharp evasive manoeuvre to prevent a frontal collision while the warship steered what's been described as dangerously close for several minutes. Earlier today, the flotilla, which has a number of Irish citizens on board, said it was entering the high-risk zone within 150 nautical miles of Gaza. A former Palestinian negotiator says there is just a 1% chance of Donald Trump's Gaza peace plan succeeding. The US president has given Hamas 3 days to accept the deal, or he will let Israel do what it must do. Hamas says it's examining the proposals in good faith. Former advisor Yazid Sa'i says the deal has little chance of success.
All we know for sure is that Hamas hands over the hostages within the first 72 hours. Its fighters lay down their arms, and the Israelis pulled back to an agreed line. But from there on, it's not clear where the international security forces will come from. They're meant to deploy immediately.
Belfast Crown Court is expected to hear from key witnesses today for the first time in the trial of Soldier F. The former paratrooper is accused of murdering James Ray and William McKinney on Bloody Sunday in Derry in 1972. 13 people in total were shot dead during a civil rights march. He's also accused of 5 attempted murders and has pleaded not guilty to all charges. Chelsea Keeley is in Belfast.
Over the past few weeks, this trial has been closely followed by families of those who died and veteran supporters. Today, survivors and civilian witnesses are due to give evidence. It's after Judge Patrick Lynch ruled that some hearsay evidence can be included in the case.
Donegal County Council says it's been engaging with the ISPCA regarding its planned withdrawal from the Donegal Dog Warden Service from next year. The council says the primary focus is to arrange a smooth transition of the Dog Warden Service over the coming months, and the closure of the ISPCA centre at Ballyar near Letterkenny is being raised in those discussions. Members are very concerned at the potential implications of the ISPCA's imminent takeover by the Dublin SPCA. This week, Councillor Noel Jordan moved a motion calling on the council to provide assistance to smaller pet rescue centres around Donegal because of the pressures that they're now under. He says it's vital that a mechanism is found to reopen the Ballyar facility.
It's a matter of urgency that the centre opens.
or they come to some compromise, that centre has to open, because there's huge strain on the smaller centres, particularly animals in need. They've been all reaching out to us. They're overburdened with animals here, nowhere to send them, and they have to transport these animals to Longford as the closest centre, so it's not sustainable the way it is.
The HSE has confirmed its nursing service is not available on Tory Island today due to planned leave and mandatory training. The service was also unavailable last weekend. The HSE says a planned programme of specialised island nurse training is now mandatory for all island nurses on Tory, and all staff currently doing island rotation are being trained in this programme as a priority. Efforts, they say, are continuing to secure additional nursing support for the island and ensure full nursing cover. You can read that full HSE statement on our website, highlandradio.com. The Love 30 campaign will hold a rally outside the Dáil tomorrow calling for safer speed limits. Members of the group will make a presentation to politicians beforehand, highlighting the trends around vulnerable road user deaths and serious injuries. The campaign has accused the Department of Transport of doing a U-turn on plans to introduce a default 30km/h speed limit in urban areas. And the Tourism Minister will today address concerns the industry has at a major gathering. The Irish Tourism Industry Confederation's annual conference will hear calls for support in the budget after a drop in visitor numbers. Aidan Delaney has more.
This year's conference is titled Resilience in an Uncertain World and reflects the uneasy feeling many operators have after a more quiet than usual year. CSO numbers for 2025 so far point to an 11% decline in inbound visitor numbers, while the amount spent by those visitors is also down. Tourism Minister Peter Burke will be among a number of high-profile speakers at the event in Kilkenny, with industry leaders saying tourism is at a critical juncture. They want the Dublin Airport passenger cap to be lifted after plans calling for the same were introduced at Cabinet yesterday.
Cloudy today with scattered outbreaks of rain and drizzle. Highest temperatures 15 to 17 degrees Celsius in moderate southerly winds. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with headlines at 11. Check all the day's news on highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning. The obituary notices for this Wednesday morning, the 1st of October. The death has taken place of Kathleen Doherty, née Byrne, 15 Derryveigh Avenue, Letterkenny. Kathleen's remains will repose at her late residence tomorrow from 12 noon until after the Rosary at 9. Funeral from there on Friday morning at 10:30, going to St Eunan's Cathedral, Letterkenny for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, which can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Interment afterwards in Newleck Cemetery, Letterkenny. Family time, please, on the morning of the funeral. The death has taken place of Jacqueline Doherty, 3A, Clonmurra, Buncrana. Jacqueline's remains will repose at McLaughlin's funeral home from 5 o'clock until 7:30 this evening, and again tomorrow from 12:30 until removal at 1:45 to St Mary's Oratory to repose overnight. Requiem Mass there on Friday morning at 10 o'clock, with burial afterwards in Cockhill Graveyard. The death has occurred of Gary Gomringer, formerly of 44 Lisnanen Court, Letterkenny. Family and friends are invited to a celebration of Gary's life at the Eternal Light Chapel of Rest, Mountain Top, Letterkenny, from 1 o'clock until 3 o'clock this afternoon. Cremation to follow. Donations in lieu of flowers if desired to the Residents' Comfort Fund, Brentwood Manor Private Nursing Home Convoy, care of Pascal Blake, Funeral Director. The death has taken place of Nuala Timoney, née Quinn, 45 Laurel Drive, Strabane, reposing at her daughter Caroline McDade's home at 10 Lansdowne Park, Strabane, from 3 o'clock this afternoon. Funeral from there on Friday morning at 9:20 for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Melmount at 10 o'clock, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers, please, to Marie Curie, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. Family time, please, from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. The Requiem Mass can be viewed via the parish webcam. The death has taken place of Kevin McCrossan, Hillcrest Nursing Home, Letterkenny, and formerly of Bunnan, Milford. Reposing at Eternal Light Funeral Home, Carnamugga, Letterkenny, today from 4 o'clock until 7 o'clock. Removal at 7 to St Peter's Church, Milford, arriving at 7:30 for prayers and to repose overnight. Funeral Mass tomorrow morning at 11, followed by burial in Milford Cemetery. The Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family Flowers Only Please donations if desired to Hillcrest Nursing Residents Comfort Fund and the Friends of Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member, or Patrick Sweeney, funeral directors. The death has taken place of Jean McGinley, née Murray, 86 Laurel Drive, Strabane, formerly of Evish Road, Strabane, reposing at her home. Funeral from there tomorrow at 12 noon for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Melmount at 12:30. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers, please, to Mary Curie, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. Family time, please, from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. The Requiem Mass can be viewed via the parish webcam. The death has taken place of John McDade, 9 Lizoan Green, Buncrana. Remains will repose at St Mary's Oratory, Buncrana today from 4:30 until 8 o'clock. Requiem Mass there tomorrow morning at 10 with burial afterwards in Cockhill Cemetery. Family Flowers Only Please donations in lieu if desired to the Irish Cancer Society, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Margaret McAteer, née Friel, Dobeg, Fanad. Margaret's remains are reposing at her late residence. Removal from there at 11:30 tomorrow morning, arriving in St Mary's Church, Fanavolti for Requiem Mass at 12 noon, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. Rosary at 9. Family Flowers Only Please donations in lieu if desired to Tammany Patients Comfort Fund, care of any family member. The Requiem Mass can be viewed on the McAteer Funeral Directors Facebook page. The death has taken place in Slough, England, of John Joe Coyle, Glasha Guidor. His remains will repose at Rorty's Funeral Home, Derry Beg, this afternoon from 4 o'clock until Rosary at 8. Funeral Mass tomorrow morning at 11 in Chuck Publiculum Kill, Macfulla. Burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed on Kieran Rorty Funeral Director's Facebook page and on the church webcam. The death has taken place of Don Daniel Carroll, Sesha O'Neill, Ballabafay. Remains reposing at his late residence. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:30 for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Sesha O'Neill at 11. Interment in the adjoining churchyard. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the parish YouTube channel. Family Flowers Only Please donations in lieu if desired to Medical 2 Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member. Family time, please, from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. The death has taken place of Philip Brogan, Balladurg, Mountain Top, Letterkenny. Philip's remains are reposing at his late residence today from 11 a.m. until 10 p.m. Rosary at 9. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:15, going to St Eunan's Cathedral, Letterkenny, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, which can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Interment afterwards in Conwell Cemetery, Letterkenny. Family Flowers Only Please donations in lieu if desired to the Friends of Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member. The death has occurred of Colm Devine, 52 Ballycoleman Road, Strabane. Remains reposing at the family home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 9:20 for Requiem Mass at 10 o'clock in St Mary's Church, Melmount. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. Family time, please, from 10 o'clock tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. Family Flowers Only Please. Those attending the wake are advised to use St Mary's Church, Melmount car park. And the death has taken place at Brentwood Manor Nursing Home convoy of Gerald Moore. Funeral from the home of his sister Yvonne and her husband Billy Smith, Churchtown Carrigans, this afternoon at 1:15 for 2 o'clock service of Thanksgiving in All Saints Parish Church, Newton Cunningham, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. Family Flowers Only Please donations in lieu if desired to Brentwood Manor Nursing Home, care of Terence McClintock, Funeral Director. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Fancy fish tacos tonight? You'll catch some amazing prices at Aldi, that's for sure. The finest Irish breaded haddock goujons are just $2.99. Sour cream at just 89¢. Mixed chilies only 49¢. And 8 mini white tortilla wraps are just 85¢. That's an evening treat at amazing Aldi value, all wrapped up. Good food, good mood from Aldi, while stocks last.
text or WhatsApp your view to Greg on 086 60 25,000.
Welcome back to the 9 till noon show. We're into the second hour of the programme. It's great to have you on board. In relation to the email we had on divorce a little earlier on, excuse me, please. We applied for a non-contentious divorce, I imagine that must read. This was in July of 2018. It was all very straightforward. It was only granted in November 2024, a total of over 6 years. It's definitely not an acceptable length of time, no, because, it depends on personal circumstances, but perhaps you want to get on with your life. So that was a non-contested divorce that took 6 years. And yet we got from the court service information that such a divorce should happen in less than a year. A caller says the rally cars are regularly on the R254, not just during the Donegal rally. Check it out Friday night. Thank you for that. And that text came in because I was supposing we got complaints about that just in advance of the Donegal rally, and I was wondering if it was isolated to that time. But as it turns out, this listener says it's not just during the rally. Thanks so much for your clarification there. Hi Greg, I'm sick of people crying about young ones diffing their cars. I would say there is older ones at it too, but do those people forget they were young too themselves? I would say they were no angels, so let the young ones be young for a few years because they'll get old. No, I don't think this is not pointing the finger at young people. Just some of the people we've spoken to, for instance, aren't legal to drive on the roads and they have these cars. And in other areas, they can travel and diff in private spaces where it's safe. I think if you were older, maybe you've been working a few years, you would be prepared to travel greater distance or make a day of it or something. So it is kind of specifically for young people in this case, and it's not to target them, because if you've listened over the last couple of days, there's a very sympathetic tone. There are those who are obviously very frustrated by it happening on public roads, and they're expressing that, and that's fine. But I think the majority of texts are sympathetic, and we heard from Councillor Jo Beard there. She would be open to exploring this as well, taking everybody's views into consideration. I just want to make a comment to be read out on rallying. The Donegal rally passed our lands this year, and we welcome the revenue it has generated. However, we've not benefited from it. We've encountered damage to farmland, fencing from people climbing over, and we've contacted the Donegal Motor Club numerous times to no avail or with no response. A caller says, I just registered simply to spoil the vote because it's not a democratic process. I'll then deregister afterwards. So it does seem to be a big enough movement to around the country to spoil votes in the presidential election, because there's a decent sized cohort of people that don't feel they're represented or don't like the system or don't like the fact that certain candidates are on there. I admire them. It would take all my energy to go and vote for a candidate. To then go to the bother of going in to not vote for a candidate, I don't think I would have that drive or commitment. If you do, and that's how you want to protest, well, fair play, but my word, I just wouldn't have the energy. But that's on me. A few more on diffing, by the way, because it's one of those stories that's got a lot of interest. I agree with Michael. Stop rally cars racing in Glenveagh National Park. I read that one out. Good one. We should build special tracks for youngsters to race illegal cars. I can't believe that a father would encourage his son to participate in this dangerous and polluting behaviour. This will only increase the amount of illegal behaviour on the public roads as they practice for these events, says a listener. Let's go to Inishow, and it should be highlighted. It should not be highlighted. We should not be encouraging their young innocent minds to be at such a thing or allow them to think it's acceptable. It's a very dangerous sport. Diffing in a controlled environment, I'm not sure how dangerous it is. Diffing on a public road, incredibly dangerous. But if you have a large space and you get a car that's going around in a circle around an object or whatever it might be, I mean, the danger is minimal, I think. Now, I think what you're also saying, though, and this is worthy of conversation, you're saying that really by entertaining the fact that don't do it on the roads will give you some place to do it, that we should knock that on the head. Which is your view, and we appreciate your time. Ask Councillor O'Farry what is wrong with the toilets for our other big attraction, Eircode, that Donegal County Council can't sort out. Yeah, indeed. On the issue of tourism, and actually we're going to be speaking to a representative from the hotel industry about tourism this year, very shortly after the bingo numbers, in fact. But on the subject of tourism businesses thrive when operated by people who have a vested interest. Anything the state touches eventually turns to crap, they say. Another, Ireland has outpriced itself for tourists. Food, accommodation and transport all too expensive, and the government is set to limit Airbnb in Donegal and other rural counties dependent on tourism. The Airbnb, how it will impact Donegal, it's in certain areas with a certain population. I think much of it will be untouched, but we shall see. Last one before the break. Hi Greg, I was in the town park in Letterkenny recently. There were lots of families around with children running about the place. A lad lands on the back of an electric scooter and starts fighting a lad that was there outside the vestry. Scooter lad with a big kitchen knife trying to slash the other lad. Gardaí arrived 10 minutes after they were called with lights on and sirens blazing, so they heard them coming a mile away. And even though the lads were still there when they were out of their cars, the guards just strolled through the park towards them, giving them plenty of time to scatter. I can't believe this type of thing happens here. It's disgraceful. Listen, we have to sort out an issue. I did reference this actually yesterday in passing. That's unacceptable behaviour. We have to get knives out of people's hands. You know, people being slashed with knives, it's not the only time it's happened. It's not the only place it's happened. But, I mean, you talk about places being deemed unsafe to go. You start seeing a further increase in knife crime. Now, the Gardaí have to respond with sirens and lights on because they've heard reports of someone brandishing a knife. So you can't creep up on them because maybe the sirens and the lights might actually stop whatever might be about to happen. So I wouldn't blame the guards for responding with the blues and twos, as they say. Whatever happened after that, I wasn't privy to that. I'm not sure if they spoke to them or secured the knife or whatever might have happened thereafter. But I think in an emergency where someone's brandishing a knife or alleged to be doing so, the guards have to respond with sirens blaring because it could stop something in the act. You know, think if it were an assault or a sexual assault or something, startle whomever might be about to commit a crime, and if they flee, it's probably better than them carrying through with the crime, if that makes sense, but you'd hope they'd be apprehended and dealt with by law. Yeah, but listen, it's scary. People are worried, and, you know, those stories, those voices have to be heard too.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Wednesday, October 1st. Playing on a blue sheet. Reference number is S18. It's week 40. Today's numbers are 40, 87, 71, 48, 81, 11, 32, 69, 34, and 45. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
When the time comes, the last thing you want is for your family to worry about funeral costs. That's why On Post Insurance offers funeral insurance for those aged 50 to 75. A simple way to help ease the burden for the people you care about most. Take a moment today to plan ahead. Call 0818 22 22 22 or visit onpostinsurance.ie. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. One Direct Ireland Limited, trading as On Post Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. One Direct Ireland Limited is a wholly owned subsidiary of On Post. Funeral insurance is underwritten and provided by New Ireland Assurance Company plc. On Post Insurance is a tied agent of New Ireland Assurance Company plc for life assurance business.
Donegal Suffolk Sheep Breeders show and sale of over 50 SAS approved ram lambs takes place this Friday 3rd of October in Rafo Mart. Selection of females also available. Show at 6, sale at 7. Online bidding via martbids.ie. That's this Friday at Rafo Mart.
T-Shirt Express has moved. You'll now find us beside C&M Embroidery, Lismonaghan, Letterkenny. We're still your go-to spot for custom T-shirts, workwear, gifts and balloons. Just in a fresh new location. You can still reach us on the same number, 086 343 3504. T-Shirt Express, now beside C&M Embroidery, Lismonaghan, Letterkenny.
Welcome back. Now, we heard yesterday hoteliers say the ongoing drop in the spend by overseas visitors poses an enormous challenge for tourism. CSO figures this week show a drop of 9% in August compared to the same month last year, which is part of a broader decline with overseas expenditure down over 13% in the past year. We are joined on the programme now to discuss this by Aisling Arnold, Chair of the Donegal Hotels Federation. Good morning, Aisling. How are you keeping?
Good morning, Greg. Very well, thank you.
It's good to have... If you're a week old...
I do, sorry.
Oh, bless you. Thanks.
You can hear my voice.
No, it's fine, but thanks so much for joining us nonetheless. I appreciate that. Aisling, obviously the CSO figures sort of paint a national picture. From hotels in the county, did we see, that kind of a decline in August?
We did indeed, unfortunately, Greg. I think, as you rightly pointed out there, we've had a 13% decrease on year to date, and we've certainly felt that this drop here in the county as well. We had a branch meeting there last week, and this was one of the topics that we discussed, and the overall decline in spend and the decline in actual visitors coming to Donegal as well.
And I mean, obviously, you all have an opinions. Is there a consensus as to what's going on?
I think from an international point of view, from a tour operator point of view, possibly if you want to look at it at a kind of a bigger level, when they're pricing to come to Ireland, we have become very expensive to come here to visit. And if you compare us to the likes of Scotland, the tour operators have now chosen to visit destinations like Scotland because it's cheaper. And one of the reasons, obviously, that we have become a little bit more expensive over the last number of years is the restoration there of that increase into the 13.5% VAT. So I think as the bigger picture here is that Ireland has just become too expensive to visit, and whilst here then the visitors are spending less, unfortunately, because they've maybe spent their money already on the travel getting here or their accommodation when they've arrived.
Just speaking of sort of hotels or restaurants in this county, and often hotels incorporate a restaurant, there's no gouging going on, is it? I mean, you have to pay your water rates, your commercial rates, the increases in staff wages, electricity, to keep the lights on, and not just in the summer where but also you have to make enough in the summer, dependent on if you open in the winter. I'm not talking about your business specifically, to sort of stay open, losing money in the winter as well. I mean, there's no gouging going on up here. And people wonder, well, why is a hotel bed this price at that time? But presumably that's to literally keep the lights on.
Absolutely, Greg. And, one of the key messages that I would, be expressing here today is that, price increases are certainly not something that I myself as a hotelier wants to be passed on to the customer, nor do any of the hotels or restaurants in the county or nationally for that matter. The fact of the matter is, as you rightly pointed out, we have energy costs that have increased significantly over the last 24 months, water rates, the input costs like your food and drink purchases, your insurance costs, our wage increases. And unfortunately, it's simple maths, if, for a business to operate, it has to make a profit, and to sustain, it needs to make a profit. And in order to do that, it has to be priced accordingly against the costs that we're faced with. So certainly there's absolutely no gouging going on. The pricing that is there is reflective of what is needed to ensure that the business can cover their costs. And ultimately, Greg, a lot of the time, that's all that is happening, is those business costs are just simply being covered.
Is there any argument for us to try and decouple more from the East Coast or the big cities and try and say, look, if you look at it from an average, holidaying in Ireland can be expensive, but look what we have to offer here in the Northwest. I see a lot of these TikTok videos of American tourists and what have you, and they do the four usuals, the Ring of Kerry or the Cliffs of Moher or what have you, right? And they stay in some of the places they mention, there's some of the most expensive places in the country. If we could get a message out here that you can get Ireland right, but you can get it cheaper in our part of the world. I don't know if that's achievable, but I would be very frustrated if your business was sort of painted with the same brush as another business in a different area.
Absolutely. And I think it's funny is since I've come on board as chair of the Donegal Irish Hotels Federation, That has been one of my key focuses and one of my main goals. And, I think here in Donegal, the consensus and the kind of the word that we would have around our board meeting tables is that there is value for money to be had here, and we need to get that message out. So we're actually just embarking on a campaign which is starting today, which is Unrushed, Unspoiled Donegal, which is in collaboration with Donegal Tourism and Fáilte Ireland. And that is really to drive that message home, that you can come to Donegal and you can have that lovely, slower paced, relaxed holiday, and also you can get value for money within that. And that is something that I will be continuing to drive now over the next until my term is up, basically, to ensure that we can get that message across. And as you rightly said, people come into the country, they get on a bus and they go to Kerry, which is the same distance actually as coming to Donegal, but it's a mindset, and it's because there's
But that's what's marketed. They believe that that's the Irish holiday. Because that's what's marketed to them. There's another thing as well too, and I'll get a bit of heat for this as well, but it's the criticism of those in the tourism industry, because people might now text in and say, I priced staying in Donegal town for 2 nights at the weekend, and I could get a 4-night all-inclusive holiday in Albufeira for the same price. Now, I'm not saying that's an exact example, but you have to look at the electricity prices that businesses are paying in Albufeira. You have to look at the minimum wage or the average income. You have to look at the VAT and tax that's on beer or food, the core materials. But it's funny. It's the hotels or the pubs that get the criticism here, but not those that are responsible for creating the environment that makes it so expensive to do business here. It's kind of, we have a habit in this country of sort of blaming the wrong people sometimes, I think.
And I think that's, where there's huge frustration coming from the hoteliers and restaurateurs here in the country, because as I said to you at the beginning, we certainly don't want to be having price hikes every single year. And we want to be able to remain competitive, apologies. And that's where we're struggling at the minute, because of the ever increasing costs, the value for money and the competitiveness side is starting to become a little bit more difficult from a business point of view. So the government do need to look at this as a bigger picture. They need to look at given the supports, the necessary supports, and the I suppose the correct direction for the hospitality sector. They need to look at this from a long-term standpoint of view. We employ 270,000 people in Ireland. 70% of that is outside of Dublin, which is really important to remember. So we are a key driver for rural and economic development and diversification, and also rural employment. So that is key for the government to realise this. We also contribute, 4.4% to the national economy, and we also represent 13% of the workforce. So hospitality and tourism is a vital part of, the overall contribution to
This is where I think the problem is, Aisling. That's what you believe. I'm not sure the government believes that, because we're seeing a downturn in tourism. We're seeing a reduction in the take in tourism. We are, but at the same time, right, and also I'll make another point in a second. But at the same time, we're seeing growth in the economy, and it's reliant on certain unsustainable areas. So what you need is someone to actually understand the situation and say that, if the arse falls out of the data centres or foreign direct investment, actually tourism is going to be one of the last men standing. So they need to sort of say, right, the economy's doing well, we are at officially full employment, but recognise that you still need to look after the tourism industry, because that's what will be there, when other things start to fade away. So if they're just looking at balance sheets, listen, what did they do when, in terms of the VAT rate? They said, well, listen, we can give the tourism industry a VAT rate, or we can increase social welfare payments. It was either or. You know what I mean? That was arguably a dirty trick, because effectively then it turns the public against tourism, because you're taking money out of the hard-pressed people of this country. Whenever do we see budgets compared like we did comparing a reduction in VAT to social welfare payments? We never see that. The government don't do that, but they did this time.
They did, and I think it's a very short-term approach, number one. Number two, it's the completely wrong approach in terms of an overall view to the tourism and hospitality. At the end of the day, there was flippant comments made around that same time about, oh, well, we can't, protect every business if they're closing their doors and things like that, which is absolute nonsense, because at the end of the day, if we don't have businesses with their doors open, we lose employment. Those people go back onto the live register. And also, it's a knock-on effect that has in for example, a rural community here in Dunfanaghy, for example. So if there's a business to close here in Dunfanaghy, the knock-on effect that has on the rest of the businesses in the village or the activity provider. So if I was to close my doors in the morning as a hotelier, the restaurants are going to suffer, the pubs are going to suffer, the activity providers are going to suffer. So that in turn then reduces employment, and also it reduces the length of term that we're open for during the year. So, or those businesses are open for during the year. So again, comparing or making that comparison that they did and putting us in that same limelight is absolutely ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. And there's no long-term thought process there in terms of making comparisons like that.
Just generally, before let you go, Aisling, we were talking earlier on about the likes of Glenveagh being closed 2 days a week, and I'm just wondering, as someone, we're in the shoulders of the season now. Other people are texting in also saying that things close very early in this county. Is there something to that maybe yous are opening and saying, look, come visit us? Try and keep it really busy up to Halloween or whatever the plan might be. But sometimes, the state in terms of Glenveagh and funding it being open 7 days or making sure public toilets are open even off season. Is that important? Does that all factor into the product, I wonder?
Oh my goodness, it's massive, because Glenveagh for us, for example, we're sending visitors there daily, Greg. That's domestic and international visitors that are coming to stay with us. And to have such a huge, vitally important visitor attraction having to close 2 days a week is absolutely ludicrous. It's impacting on the whole of the county. There's the people come, the tour. If I'm looking at it from an international visitor point of view, people could come in and stay in Donegal town and stay, for example, in one of the hotels there, and they will get a bus and they will come to Glenveagh. They might come and stop and have lunch with me. They might stop in a restaurant. They might stop in a village and walk up and use, all the facilities are there and the amenities are there within the village. It's not just myself that's 20 minutes up the road. It's the entire county that suffers from that. And I don't understand, and I find it very hard to get my head around, that the government aren't supporting Glenveagh in this, in their plea to what is a very simple ask. Being closed 2 days a week in peak season, might I add, is absolutely crazy. So where is that going to leave them now going into the off season and things like that? And to answer your question there, you talked about people saying things close early here in the county. I think from when False Ireland brought in the Wild Atlantic Way, there was a real driving message there to get the county open and along that west coast open year round. I think we have come an awful long way, Greg, in terms of how long that or the length of the term off the season now. But unfortunately, these are some of the challenges that business are facing now with the cost of doing business. And this is why we need the government to step in now, really give us what they promised, is the VAT rate reduction, in order for us to be able to pass this on and for us to be able to continue business year round. You mentioned it earlier on. A rural business is not making money year round. They're making it X amount of months a year, and then they're sustaining jobs for the rest of the season, and they're sustaining the fixed costs that the business has. So we do not want to regress in this county. We want to progress, and we want to be able to stay open, welcome our domestic visitors, welcome our international visitors, and show the county for what it is, value for money, the absolutely beautiful countryside that we have here, and all the amenities and facilities that we have.
Fascinating insight. Really appreciate that so much. Thanks, Aisling. Get well soon.
Thanks so much
for joining us. All right, look after yourself. That is Aisling Arnold there, who is chair of the Donegal Hotels Federation, of course. in Dunfanaghy Arnold's Hotel. Lots of you texting in relation to that. And it's a funny one because I'm going to go through the messages. Even though we sort of had that convo there, a lot of the criticism is still of hotel owners, people in the tourism industry, and not those that set the groundwork for that within that business operates, if that makes sense. Now, I'm not here as a PR for tourism, but I think we need to sort of maybe look at it more broadly. Okay, let's take a break. Back with more shortly.
Looking for somewhere special to relax and enjoy great food? Come to the Isis Centre and Celtic Prayer Garden, F93 F104. Every Friday it's Fish and Chip Friday, fresh and delicious. Now opened on Saturdays. Enjoy our all-day breakfasts, the perfect way to catch up with friends. And don't forget our full menu and daily specials served all week. We also cater for groups of any size, so why not come and spend the day with us? Call 07493 84866. The Isis Centre, Island of Saints and Scholars.
Shop Homeland's October mega deals now until October 21st. Save 10% off all regatta jackets, 10% off Snickers trousers and shorts, save 15% off all bird tables and feeders, and save €10 off Dulux Final Matte or Soft Sheen Pure Brilliant White 10-litre paint. All this and more in store and online at homeland.ie.
Thinking about changing your car? Making the change is easier than ever at Kelly's Toyota, thanks to Toyota Approved Used. Choose from our extensive range of used passenger and commercial vehicles, including 242 and 251 demo models at great prices. Tested and approved by Ireland's most trusted car brand. All our cars come with a 12-month comprehensive warranty with flexible payment options available. Talk to Kelly's Toyota today. Toyota, built for a better world. Terms and conditions apply.
At Blue Poppy Dentistry and Orthodontics, we specialise in creating confident, natural-looking smiles through expert composite bonding. Doctors Anna and Lydia combine precision and artistry to reshape, refine and refresh your smile with stunning results. It's just one of the many ways Blue Poppy puts your smile first. Call us on 07491 20355 or book online at bluepoppydental.com. Blue Poppy Dental and Orthodontics, Letterkenny and Donegal Town, where smiles shine brighter.
We're joined on the programme now by road traffic lawyer Patrick Horan. Good morning, Patrick. Thank you so much for your time.
Hi, Greg. Good to speak to you. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Now, you've been highlighting an issue and I suppose looking behind the headlines, so to speak. But we'll start with the fact that Derry is the most common home address for people caught drink driving. That's across, I presume, the north, across the 6 counties.
It is. It actually incorporates everybody who lives outside the Republic of Ireland.
Yeah.
So if you were to take into account the UK, EU, non-EU, that total is 25, and Derry on its own is 50, and it's considerably higher than the rest of the counties in the north. Yeah.
And what is the medical bureau's thinking and your thinking behind this, Patrick?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the Bureau's kind of speculating a little bit. They don't know. I mean, they're not there inside in Donegal Garda Station, which they cite as being, I think, the 5th highest in the country for specimens taken. But they kind of, occasionally when you read their documents, they release reports every year and they're kind of put up data. But one of the things they say is that they think that it may be due to the proximity of the border county of Donegal with Donegal Garda Station. So, I don't know, maybe our brothers and sisters in Derry are filled with the joys of liberation, maybe when they come across the border and kind of lose control of themselves. I don't know. They don't know themselves, but then, of course, if it's just Derry and Donegal and they're linked by a border, well, I'm pretty sure Cavan and Monaghan and places like that are linked to the border too, and the people who live across the borders in those areas tend to be maybe more law-abiding. I don't know.
Yeah,
they don't know.
As you mentioned, Donegal Garda Stations recorded the 5th highest specimens of drink driving in 2023. So you can compare that, can't you? Meath and Limerick would have similar numbers, but they're obviously certainly much greater population centres. And this is not necessarily something we see mimicked in sort of sister counties across the border, west to east. It seems something particular to Donegal Derry.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Antrim, they say 24 arrests came from people with addresses in Antrim, 20 from Down, 10 from Fermanagh, 21 from Tyrone, 14 from Armagh, and Derry was 50. So it's considerably ahead of the rest. But it seems that the roads policing unit up there in Donegal are pretty active, and yeah, they're catching a lot of guys who are coming across the border. And I think it may have something to do with the fact, and I've come across this before, where people have this false belief that, well, if I'm arrested and prosecuted for drink driving in the Republic of Ireland, it doesn't matter, I'll be okay in the north. Well, you won't. You'll be put off the road up there too. We have this unique treaty of mutuality between Ireland and the UK, which means if you're disqualified in the Republic, that disqualification can be recognised in the UK and vice versa, and that includes Northern Ireland. So I think some of it may be driven, pardon the pun, from a false understanding of what it means to be disqualified in the Republic of Ireland. It'll affect you up there too.
And like, we don't have the statistics, do we, to compare levels of enforcement? Because is it a higher rate of drink driving or a higher rate of detection, I wonder? And by the way, is it specific to drink driving, or is drink and drug driving?
Well, what they were saying in their report was that they were just talking about blood and urine specimens, in particular. And what they were saying was they just spoke about blood and urine. I don't know if that if within the blood specimens there's drug driving detections, but I suspect so. The problem that they're having now is the rapid increase in cocaine use across the country. That's having
crazy.
a major problem right now.
I mean, I've tracked
really
tracked those figures over the year, and it used to be like at a weekend, 10 drink arrests, 2 drugs, and now if it were 12, it's like, 7 drug arrests and the remainder being drink. I just wonder if there's a particular relationship in terms of the movement of people between work, relationships, holiday homes, etc., between Derry and Donegal, and if it's more down to that the two areas are actually more intertwined, almost part of the part of the one area compared to some of the other areas we might be comparing them to.
Maybe, yeah. I do know that. I mean, you guys would know better than me, but I was in Derry a few months ago and really liked the place. I like that part of the world, Buncrana, Letterkenny, and Derry. And I found a certain commonality between the peoples. Sometimes you had to think twice that you were actually in Derry.
Mm-hmm.
There was so many southern registered cars up there. I guess a lot of people from the south are working up there, and maybe vice versa. So there's a lot of inter-community relations.
Yeah.
I guess. And as to other factors, I don't know, but I do think that people do have this generalized false notion that if I get put off down here, I'll be okay in the north.
Yeah, I get you.
And that's leading to a lot of problems. But
Patrick,
cocaine, as I said before, is a major problem right now.
Do you practice in the north or the south, Patrick? I should know that. Sorry.
No, in the south.
Okay.
I just practice. I have been to court in Donegal and Buncrana and everywhere else in the country, but no, I don't practice in Northern Ireland.
Just one question then in relation to that, and I've always been fascinated by this. Maybe you have an insight in terms of the incredibly high level of people that choose not to hand in their licenses to the court when they're put off the road. Do you have any insight from a legal profession as to how many people know that they don't actually have to hand in their license? Because I'd be crapping myself, right? I'd chuck it at the judge, not literally, right? But I would say, right, okay, you've asked for this, here it is. But overwhelmingly, that people seem to know that they don't need to actually hand in the license. Do you have any insight as to why that might be as a road traffic lawyer?
I don't know. I think it's probably coming down to this false belief that you don't have to, and that comes across in online forums and notice boards where people say you don't have to. You do have to hand in your license. You certainly would have to have your license if you're being disqualified. You'd have to have your license with you in court. The judge is going to ask, "Where's your license?" You should have it with you. The summons you got said, "Bring it to court."
Well, how come so many know they don't have to?
I
know
think
they should, but.
Yeah, I don't think it's a conscious and deliberate thing. I'm not bringing my license. I think it's down to the fact they're misreading the documentation. I have to constantly sometimes tell clients they miss that small area. They're just thinking about the case or forgetting about the knock-on stuff. But if you do get disqualified, the first thing the court clerk will look for is your license.
Yeah.
And you'll have to hand it in. So, but in general, people do they do hand them in eventually. But I think on the day of court, they're so frazzled with what they're about to face that's one thing they forget. But in general, when I represent people, thankfully it doesn't happen too often. But where it does happen, they would have their license with them to hand into court.
Finally, do we need to throw out or redraft the road traffic legislation? Is it a basket case, as some people feel, Patrick? I mean, you're on the side of it, are you, where maybe you have to work on behalf of your clients and you have to test the law, I presume, right? But do you think the road traffic laws fit for purpose?
I do. I think people often complain about what they call technicalities. People are getting away with technicalities. That's the word you hear. That's actually, that word does not even exist. It was created by or coined by the media many years ago. What you have is the law. Either the law is followed or it's not. Okay, it's just not. I mean, there was 2 of my cases that were struck out last week in various different parts of the country for various different reasons. And they're not technicalities, it's the law. You either follow the law or you don't. Now, if you don't follow the law, then you're on a bit of a slippery slope. But I find that with the guards across the country, they're very well capable and able to prosecute these cases. And they do place a heavy reliance on detections for drink and drug driving. It's just a major part of what they do. It always has been, even when I was in the job many years ago.
All right, listen, Patrick, thanks so much for your insight. I appreciate it. Look after yourself, Patrick. That's road traffic lawyer Patrick Horan there. Derry, the most common home address for people caught drink driving in the Republic.
It's Cabaret 25 at Harvey's Point. We start again on Wednesday, September the 3rd, and every Wednesday until November the 5th. An amazing lineup of stars, gourmet food, the warmest of welcomes, and all in the beautiful surrounds of Harvey's Point on Lough Esk, Donegal Town. Book today 074 972 2208 or harveyspoint.com. The Harvey's Point Cabaret, a night not to be missed.
Mary here from the cosmetic department at McGee's Chemist to let you know that Loncombe have a great beauty gift available here this week. Buy 2 Loncombe products, want to be skincare, and you'll get a free 7-piece gift of your choice of either Renergy or Hydrocent travel size creams and more iconic Loncombe products. This offer is available until Saturday the 11th of October, or while stocks last. Some T's and C's apply. For any skincare advice, you can always talk to myself or any staff member here at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny.
From the morning routines to cosy family moments, Grant has been bringing comfort to homes for over 45 years. With our biofuel-compatible condensing boilers, heat pumps and underfloor heating, you can trust Grant to heat your home now and into the future. Think heating, think Grant. Visit grant.ie.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Refresh your wardrobe this season with key autumn-winter essentials. Discover our extensive range of fashion, accessories, homeware and more in-store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
I'll get to the weather in a second. I just want to reference an update I got from Irish Water in relation to the boil notice for the Glenveagh Ardra area, because someone messaged in yesterday saying, look, what's going on here? Just to give you an update then, following a deterioration in the raw water quality entering the water treatment due to inclement weather conditions, the notice was issued on the 15th of September to protect the health of customers. Uisce Éireann's primary focus is and always will be the protection of public health. Monitoring of the supply is continuing, and these results will be kept under review and shared with the HSEs. We continue to liaise with them. And in the meantime, all customers in Glenveagh Ardra public water supply are advised to boil the water before use until further notice. So in other words, I don't have any concrete update for you other than to say Uisce Éireann says it is actively trying to get that water back to a safe standard. Neil MacDonald's Chief Executive of the Irish Small and Medium Enterprise Association, and he is with me now. Good morning, Neil.
Good morning, Greg.
Right, now retailers who you represent say they're vulnerable to defamation claims arising from accusations of theft or unpaid bills. This then has the knock-on effect, of course, of increasing legal or meaning people have to face legal costs, but also increasing insurance costs. What's happening here? What's the connection between, retailers trying to protect their stock or their product effectively and then ending up being accused of defamation?
Well, thanks, Greg, to you, and morning to your listeners. Believe it or not, the legal advice for retailers now who see someone stealing stock from their shop is let them go. tell them at the door that they're not welcome to return, and if they do return, they'll be treated as trespassers. But do not ask them to show a receipt. Do not ask them to open their bag, because if you say anything like that to them, it's potentially defamatory, and you're looking at a minimum of 5,000 to 7,000 euro settlement with them. And if they hit you with circuit court papers, that settlement is going to cost you 30,000, including legal fees. So what we're trying to do is to bring back something that was actually in the general scheme of reform for the Defamation Act back in 2023, but it mysteriously disappeared, which is a thing called transient retail defamation. And that would mean that a person who was asked to show a receipt or who was asked to open a bag, or this also happens, believe it or not, when your 50 euro note is checked at a bar in a shop with one of those little pens. If someone is told, sorry, your note doesn't pass muster, you'll need to give me another note. What we want is to have those prevented as courses of action against the retailer.
Right, okay. Never knew. Now, this is being discussed in the Dáil. A bill is being progressed in this space, but Neil, are you concerned that they're not necessarily getting to the core of the problem here?
Oh, absolutely not, Greg. And you put your finger on it. The reform bill went through the Dáil effectively on the nod in July, and the only issue that was spoken about was juries in defamation trials. You would think that jury defamation trials were commonplace, but Ireland typically has about 300 defamation cases per year. That's 1.4 times the number they have in England and Wales. That's not a mistake. On per capita, that's 18 times the level of defamation in litigation that they have in England and Wales. And almost none of those cases happen in the High Court. They're almost all circuit court cases. And I know the Jerry Adams case took a huge amount of media attention this year. Almost never do you have a jury defamation trial. They're less than 1% of the action in defamation litigation. And yet the only thing that the Dáil spoke about was juries. And when the Seanad took it up in July, we counted 11,500 words spoken in the 2-hour debate. The word retail was mentioned once, and it's 99% of the problem.
Right.
So the real victims are people who are running small corner shops, restaurants, filling stations.
Sorry, Neil, just to move it on, but it sounds to me like then exploiting this is more lucrative than shoplifting, especially too if you can sort of find a way of employing people of a certain age as well. So, to get away with a bottle of vodka at a value of what, I don't know what it might be, but really then you could find yourself maybe getting 7 or 8 grand or even a higher number. That's the gravy of shoplifting then.
It really is, Greg, and it's terrible. It's such a cynical thing that's going on now. I mean, people are actually gone beyond actually stealing the stock now. What they do is they pretend to steal stock. Typically, as you mentioned, a bottle of vodka or a bottle of wine. They put it back on the shelf surreptitiously so that nobody sees them doing it. And if someone asks them, did you pay for that bottle of vodka or that bottle of wine? They open their coat and their bags and say, what bottle of vodka?
It's a double bluff, because then you're exposed to genuine shoplifters as well.
Exactly. This simply doesn't happen in other European countries. What happens here is totally wrong. It's immoral. And yet so much money, we estimate on figures from one of our members in the security business who provides static guarding for well-known symbol retail groups. And they have a current liability of €3 million across 93 defamation cases. So based on his kind of market share, we estimate this is worth somewhere between 30 and 50 million euros a year.
It's
about
fascinating.
40 million of which will go to the lawyers.
Yeah, outstripping probably people who might have faked injury in car collisions or stepped out in front of. I mean, this is another space where those in the know can really, really exploit
Yes.
that. I find it hard to believe when someone's stepping onto your private property, and even if they were stopped on your private property and asked this question, I think there should be some level of compliance to that request once they're in your space, but anyway, it's a peculiar one. I didn't know about it, Neil. Listen, sorry to rush it along, but you're probably up to your ears anyway, so thanks very much for your time.
Thanks very much, Greg. Best of luck.
Bye. By the way, I'd be very interested, even off the record, if any businesses listening have been the victims of these defamation claims, and maybe give us an idea of the settlement, etc. As I say, you don't have to divulge the business, but give us the info and we can pass it on to the listeners.
It's the Right Price Tiles wood flooring and bathware 70% off sale. Get up to 70% off all your purchases. Up to 70% off all tiles, all wood flooring, all bathware. Everything's reduced in store. The 70% off sale at Right Price Tiles wood flooring and bathware. Stores nationwide. Sale now on.
Hey, look what Mum got at the supermarket.
I can't cook that. It's fish.
Shh. It's easy, Dad. Hake is handy in the pan. Trout is perfect in a tray bake. Even mussels are ready in minutes.
But timing, the temperature, it's frightening. It's fish.
Shh. Give it a go. It's healthy and tasty too.
Don't be scared of seafood. Pick up some today for a dinner that's
surprisingly easy to cook.
Find meal inspiration at boardbia.ie.
Indulge yourself with friends or a loved one at the Spa at Orchids at the Holyrood Hotel in Bundoran. A midweek or weekend spa break is the perfect way to escape from life for a while. Take a leisurely walk along the Atlantic coast. Enjoy a dip in our private pool, a plunge in our Canadian hot tub, and treatments of your choice before dining in one of the Holyrood Hotel's acclaimed restaurants. The Spa at Orchids. Book now at holyroodhotel.com.
CFC Interiors are wrapping up 50 years in business with the Furniture Show NI 50th edition. Our biggest ever sale ends this weekend. Final days for massive savings, exclusive offers and unmissable giveaways in every department. Only at CFC Interiors, Campsie, Derry, Cookstown and Abbey Centre. Act fast. The Furniture Show NI ends this weekend.
To the fearless tradesmen and business owners of Donegal, we have an invite for you. On Friday, 17th of October, iMotors is hosting an unmissable event at Snugborough, Letterkenny. Enjoy a free breakfast and coffee on us, explore our full commercial vehicle lineup, and pick up your free safety pack. We'll be there from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Get your Friday started right with iMotors.
iMotors, fearless generation.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
And we're just stepping into the last hour of this show on this Wednesday. Let's get a news update at 11 o'clock, and it's back over to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. The Gaza Aid Flotilla is reportedly being circled by an Israeli warship. The Global Summit Flotilla says its captain was forced to take a sharp evasive manoeuvre to prevent a frontal collision, while the warship steered what's described as dangerously close for several minutes. Earlier today, the flotilla, which has a number of Irish citizens on board, said it was entering the high-risk zone within 150 nautical miles of Gaza. Uisce Éireann says it continues to work to lift the boil water notice in place for customers on the Glenties Ardra public water supply, following a deterioration in the raw water quality entering the treatment due to inclement weather conditions. The notice was issued on September 15th to protect the health of customers on the supply. Uisce Éireann says monitoring is continuing and those results are being kept under review and constantly shared with the HSE. In the meantime, they say all customers are advised to boil their water before use until further notice. Donegal County Council says it's been engaging with the ISPCA regarding its planned withdrawal from the Donegal Dog Warden Service from next year. Further meetings are planned, with the council saying the primary focus is to arrange a smooth transition of the Dog Warden Service over the coming months. The closure of the ISPCA centre at Ballyar near Letterkenny, they say, is being raised in the course of those discussions. Members are concerned at the potential implications of the imminent takeover of the ISPCA locally by the Dublin SPCA. Councillor Noel Jordan has moved a motion calling on the council to provide assistance to smaller pet rescue centres across the county because of the severe pressures they now face as a result. The HSE has confirmed its nursing services not available on Tory Island today because of planned leave and mandatory training. The service was also unavailable last weekend. Efforts, they say, are continuing to secure additional nursing staff and support for the island to ensure full cover in the future. A 27-year-old man's been charged following reports of sexual offences in the Omagh area. He's been charged with 6 breaches of a sexual offence prevention order and also 5 counts of harassment. He's appearing in court in Dungannon today. And the Health Minister has set a target for the HSE to reduce wait times to 10 months for primary care therapies. Jennifer Carl McNeil says a third of patients are waiting over a year for occupational therapy, physiotherapy and speech and language therapy. She says that target would remove over 60,000 people from waiting lists across the services. And we're back with news headlines again at 12 noon.
Thanks so much, Donald. We'll be back with more on the show after this really short break.
What's brought me into therapy? Phone watch alarms. They're ruining my life. I used to be able to run a successful burglar boot camp. We produce some of the finest burglars in Ireland. But now, all my students are terrified of phone watch, and so am I. With their damn 15 seconds response time, 24/7 monitoring, the app, camera motion detectors, wireless video doorbell. I might never be able to burgle again. Get the alarm Burglar's Fear for just €99. Don't be alarmed. Be phone watched. Offer ends October 31st. Monitoring fees and terms apply.
086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number. Keep your comments coming into us. You can also call us, as you know, on 074 91 25,000. Reed Tourism, McCullough says, is it too expensive? Look at the NFL at Croke Park, €800 per night. Stop ripping people off. The problem is, right, and I presume you can see the difference between what's happening in Dublin and elsewhere versus what is happening on the West Coast. Would she encourage regulation that at main season and major event times that hotels must not be allowed to hike their prices? Listener wants to know, where did that lady talking and promoting Ireland go on holidays last year? Did she go abroad or tour within Ireland? Well, that's her own personal business. I suspect she wasn't touring. How does supply and demand work? Putting up prices when there's an event locally, this doesn't increase the supply of hotel rooms. It just makes it more expensive for everyone. And last, Glenveagh Castle was always somewhere wonderful that we could bring visitors to Donegal any day of the week, all year round. What if the Americans that came in for the NFL game wanted to visit on Monday or Friday and they couldn't? What does Charlie McConaughey think about that after spending $10 million getting the American tourists into Ireland? It's not just that batch of tourists, though. We have tourists into the area all of the time. Right. Sophie Morris is author of Sophie Swaps and is a prominent healthy food advocate and activist, television chef as well. Sophie, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for joining us. You really got into this space, and I hope I'm not timelining this correctly, in 2024. That's at least when you started sort of creating videos to try and raise awareness. What brought you to that point?
Yeah, you're right. No, it was around August 2024 was when I did my first video in the supermarket. And really, it was based on I was working with a lot of women and I was seeing how confused they were with the food packaging in the supermarket, getting caught up on the health claims on the front, like high protein, high fiber, low fat, and kind of just being taken in by those health claims on the front, which was, I found, very frustrating because I could just see how unhelpful food packaging was for people who were well-intentioned people trying to make good choices for their health. And so, I decided to just do the first video very kind of off the cuff. And I've been making content for a really long time, different kinds of food content, and it just went viral. And I actually just thought it was a glitch in the algorithm initially. So
back yourself,
I was
Sophie.
like, what's going on? Yeah, I was like, what's going on? Because I've been making content for so long. And then it was actually my husband who said, well, why don't you just try and do another one? You're always banging on about food labels. I kind of burnt the ear off him talking about my frustration with food labels. So then I just did another video the next day, and that one went viral. And so I just started doing them every day, and they all just went crazy. So I realized, wow, this is actually information people don't know and that people really want to hear. So that's kind of where it all came from.
Yeah. Now, there's a story out today, it's every day effectively, that talks about the fact that low-income families can't afford healthy food. And then you can take it from that, of course, then that, and we see in stats down the line, greater rates of heart disease or cancers or whatever it might be. Now, I'm not in any way trying to diminish that because I know the reality of that. But if we are a bit more savvy, even with limited means, can we eat more healthy? Obviously, if you're going to look at all the big brands and everything that's being pushed by influence or what have you, maybe that's out of people's reach. But is a lower income an absolute sort of obstacle to having a better quality diet?
I think it's a really difficult topic because unfortunately, the food environment is set up in a sense that it makes it so hard for people to make a healthy choice. When you walk into the supermarket, around 70% of the products in the supermarket now are ultra processed foods. It's absolutely insane. And, we are bombarded with them everywhere. So I do think it's a real challenge. But I do think my whole message is that we can be savvy. I absolutely think that there is a way for us to save money shopping if we are clever about it. Like things I like to talk about is, shopping in the freezer aisle. I think frozen vegetables are a really great hack because you're not going to be left with waste in your fridge with all the leftover piece of broccoli that's gone bad. If you and it's extremely affordable to buy frozen vegetables. You can also buy like frozen chopped vegetables, which means cooking from scratch. I know time is an issue for people. Cooking from scratch is a lot quicker because you've got your stuff all chopped up for you, and because it's picked straight away, the nutrition is actually more nutrient dense than a lot of fresh vegetables that are traveled, from very long distances to get to our shelves. So I think things like using that batch cooking, in a way, like ways that you can cut down on waste, because like the amount of food waste that Irish households, I can't remember the exact number, but it's insane the amount of money that goes into the amount of food.
Can I bring you back
waste.
to all ultra processed foods? And this also talks to, your swaps. Sometimes it's hard to see the wood for the trees. Like we are inadvertently bringing into our house ultra processed foods. And of course, through your social media posts and now your book, you don't necessarily have to compromise on taste or even value, do you? But you just need to know what you're looking for.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly it. I think people's eyes were just totally opened and people were shocked when I started doing my videos to see that, you could have two simple like ingredient products. Like the soy sauce video I did was huge because, people just think, oh, soy sauce, whichever one you pick up is the same. And they are vastly different. Like the Tesco soy sauce, for example, is just sugar and salt and water, and then they only have 10% soy sauce extract in there. But I did show like Amoy as well uses sugar, caramelized sugar syrup, all these unnecessary additives. But if you swap to the Kikkoman brand, it's actually cheaper, and it is just the ingredients that soy sauce should have. 4 ingredients. So, reading labels like that is really important and can really help you make those clever swaps, as I say. But another thing that I think has really helped in terms of reducing costs that I talk about is that, people have a long-standing loyalty to brands. Like Bird's Eye Fish Fingers, I think is such a great example. So people would always, advertising works. We've grown up with the same advertising from Bird's Eye, and you kind of just assume that this is a better quality brand and it's more expensive, it's got to be better. But I've really debunked that by showing, if you swap to any of the supermarket own brand fish fingers, Tesco, Dunn's, SuperValu, any of them, they actually all have a higher percentage of fish than Bird's Eye, and they are so much cheaper.
And really, is it, I suppose Bird's Eye have conditioned us to think that by spending a fortune on marketing, and how do they fund that marketing? Maybe it's by putting less fish in the fish fingers.
Exactly. That's exactly what they do.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they do, and they have a higher price, not because it's better quality, it's because they need to take a portion of their margin to put towards all that advertising and marketing that we see. Whereas the supermarket own brand, they don't need that margin for marketing because they don't do it, so they can afford to charge less money and have actually a better quality product. So that's been a real eye opener for people as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are obvious brands that were very low to, so, I mean, look at Heinz beans. If you go over to where a lot of British people go, you'd swear Heinz beans were the only bean in town, right? But, people will have their favourite ketchup, their favourite brown sauce, their favourite curry sauce, their favourite bran flakes, their favourite this, that and the other. can you compromise? Can you not compromise on taste if you sort of disregard your pointless brand loyalty and sort of follow some of the advice that you give on your videos or actually in this new Sophie Swaps book?
Absolutely. I mean, I've found some amazing clever swaps for a lot of those big brands that we're very loyal to, and they taste better. Like, I mean, my kids have completely converted over to the Mama Bear ketchup that I talk about, which is a lovely small Irish
I must
brand.
try that
The sugar
actually.
content, the sugar content is so much lower than Heinz.
Mm.
They love that ketchup now. It tastes really good, and I know a lot of kids love ketchup. Like some kids will only have ketchup with all their meals, but then you feel like if they're having that much ketchup, if you swap to one that's lower sugar, it's reducing their sugar intake by so much. So it's a really clever one, that one. No, but absolutely, we don't need to sacrifice on flavor at all.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
So in the book, you've got 50 quick family-friendly recipes, which is good because they prove healthy eating doesn't have to be complicated. And sometimes, with the best win in the world, cookbooks can feel complicated as soon as you see an ingredient you don't even know, let alone where you might even blow and buy it. But also to break in, sort of combating the psychology of how supermarkets are set up. There's billions has gone into research, hasn't there, as to where things are, paying to be at eye height, all that kind of stuff. That's how interesting is it, that sort of, not debunking it, but sort of unpicking, what the supermarkets do to us to try and influence us?
Yeah, I think it's a fascinating area, and that's why I wanted to write about it in my book, because people are very kind of unaware of it. But it's just, I think once you have the awareness, I think you can just be so much more savvy when you walk into that supermarket. And we need to remember, it's not like they are bad or evil or anything. It's just that our whole food system is set up for profit, not for health. And so supermarkets, as soon as you walk into the supermarket, their goal is to extract as much money from us as possible. So much money has gone into the layout of the store, where smell, sensory things, like when you walk into the supermarket, and often the bakery will be right there at the entrance, and straight away, if you're shopping hungry, which I always say don't shop hungry, the smell of that fresh bread or pastries is going to trigger something in you, and you're going to want to go and then buy stuff that you necessarily don't need. So yeah, there's a huge amount of money goes into how supermarkets market all the products in there. And I think that if you're aware of these tactics, like I say, awareness is everything. When you walk in, you can be savvy to it and make sure that you're not spending unnecessarily. All those on end of aisle promotions, the 2 for 1, the multi-buys, they work. They really use human psychology to understand that we feel that there's some scarcity there if we see these kinds of big promotions, so we feel we have to buy them now. And really, do we actually need those, the 3 for 2, the multi-packs, the large? Do we need them? Like, most of the time we don't. It's not actually on our shopping list. So being kind of conscious and aware of those things and to avoid them, can really help your health and your wallet in the end of the day.
I mean, you are a disruptor, I mean, for the industry, because, and we're getting it by people messaging in. They love the social media and they follow you all the time, and great to hear you on. And of course, now you've got this book dropping. What are, I mean, it could shake up the industry. You'd hope it might, because, as I say, they will see trends. If you are followed by many people and they're switching out brands, they're going to spot that as well, right? So that's a positive thing, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. That is my main mission, really. And I know it feels like a very big kind of mission to try actually create change in the industry, but that is my ultimate goal. I feel like we are at a place, as I said, where the prevalence of ultra processed foods makes it so hard for people to make healthy choices, and it has to change. We've got to bring that number down of how much ultra processed foods are in our supermarkets. And another big driver of mine is to really, help small Irish food producers who do make amazing quality products, help them become more visible and more viable to survive. Because unfortunately, the way the system is set up, it makes them so hard to survive in a supermarket environment, and so many of them end up closing down. But what my content has proved is that people do want to know about these brands. They do want to know that these products exist. And so if by helping them become more visible, people are actually shopping. They're choosing these products, and the supermarkets have responded. Some of the brands ones that I've called out who were about to be delisted now have multiple retail listings, have huge shelf space because people are buying them and the supermarkets are responding to that demand. So it's really encouraging to see that. And yeah, that's really my mission, is to keep going in that space.
Finally, before we remind people of the book, it's out now. As a woman who has found herself very popular in social media, everything that comes with that, you are trying to help people make good food choices, better choices, save them money. Surely you aren't subjected to online abuse in this space. So I know the answer to the question, but I'm trying to phrase it that it's so ridiculous that you might be. What is that like?
Thank you.
And what do you have to endure?
Do you know, yeah, thank you so much for saying that. I think at the beginning it hit me quite hard because I've always, I've worked in the food industry for a really long time. People only know me recently, but I have worked in it for a long time, and I've always just tried to be very positive in everything that I've done. So it did hit me very hard initially, but I guess I've come to realize now, and I've had other people in the industry who understand what it's like, have really helped me in this space to understand that it kind of is the nature of the beast. I think it happens to anyone who gets to this level of profile who's trying to create change, I suppose. So the way I look at it is, if 99.9% of the messages I receive are extremely positive, which they are, I mean, people's lives have been changed by becoming more aware of what's in the food they're buying. That is 100% true. So as long as I see those, then I know I am doing the right thing, and that I have to stay true to my mission.
But
and I just have to block out the noise.
The truth too is, as well, someone sitting there in the basement typing out a nasty comment.
Yeah.
When they've hit return, it's "Mom, what's for dinner?" And them 38, and them 38 years of age. They are compensating for their inability to perform, I think, in general society by trying to exercise power, particularly over women. Stuff them. I know it's sometimes hard to block it out, but they aren't worth your time. Right.
Thank you, Greg.
Sophie
Thank
Swaps
you.
by Sophie Morris. Thursday, 4th of September. It's out, so it's out now. I'm thinking Christmas. Dare I even say the C word, Sophie? I'm thinking right now. It's out there. You sort of unpick what goes on in supermarkets. There's 50 quick family-friendly recipes. You must be proud to have it out there and to be getting the feedback that you are.
I'm so proud, Greg. Thank you so much. I'm it's been such a labor of love and passion of mine, and the way it's been received is just phenomenal. Like, people have really supported it, but also people's reaction to it. People are just loving it, the information, the recipes. So it means so much to me. And I even just heard yesterday it's the #1 non-fiction paperback book for the 4th week running now this week. So I'm over the moon, absolutely thrilled.
That's testimony to its success. You can do a Sophie's radio swaps now, right? So you can do what? Bear with me, it's a plan. So, right, we do quite well here, don't worry about it. But you could say, right, so you can have Pat Kenny, right, but you can get this leaner, sexier, younger option.
I love it.
On Highland Radio. Could this work?
Sophie's radio swaps.
I'm only messing. Listen, Sophie, best of luck with
great.
everything. Love to the family, and congratulations
Thank
on
you
your
so
success
much, Greg.
and the
Lovely
difference
to
you're
chat to
making.
you. I appreciate it so much.
Bye.
Thanks so much.
Look after yourself. All right, that's
Bye.
Sophie
Bye-bye.
Swaps there. Sophie Swaps. It's Sophie Morris of Sophie Swaps. Delighted to hear Sophie, says the listener. Follow her online, and so informative. Best of luck. Keep up the great work. That comes in from Anne-Marie. Another, I follow Sophie on Instagram. Great book too. Could you ask her about celiac ingredients? All the bread and food contains a lot of artificial stuff. I'm so sorry I didn't get to that one on time, but you know what? Maybe Sophie might join us again in the future and answer more of those sort of specific questions. We just wanted to give her an opportunity to get the message of our book out there. And I didn't realise, and I was about probably 30 seconds into that conversation before I realised that I've watched a lot of Sophie's videos. I don't look at names or whatever. It's just the info I'd be absorbing. And so there you go.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
The Bank of Ireland in Letterkenny currently has a vacancy for a welcome advisor. Successful applicants will have the opportunity to work closely with personal and business customers and build a career with the bank. Submit your CV to Yvonne Bowl in Bank of Ireland Letterkenny or email yvonne.bowl@boi.com.
At Hidden Hearing, we believe you should keep hearing it all. Keep dancing. Keep celebrating. Keep laughing. Keep being you. Call 1-800-370-000 or go to hiddenhearing.ie and book a free hearing test today. Hidden Hearing. Your hearing is our expertise.
Your personal best. What does that really mean? Smashing records? Beating others? Not really. At VHI, we say it's more important to feel your personal best by looking after your mental health or catching up with friends. Parkrun with VHI is a fun, free way to feel your personal best every single week. Find out more at vhi.ie/running. VHI, because your health means everything.
Luxury living begins at the heart of your home, your fireplace. At Sprat Fireplaces, Newmills Letterkenny, we offer statement fireplaces, bespoke surrounds, and a wide range of stoves, including gas, wood burning, pellet, and bioethanol models. No chimney? No problem. We'll help you choose and install the perfect solution. Stylish, efficient, and tailored to your home. Call 074 91 24144 or visit spratfireplaces.ie. Sprat Fireplaces, bringing comfort and style home.
Keep out the cold, cold, cold! And ring Fleming for their full range of garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, 91 48 234.
Experience an unforgettable evening of gospel music with Patrick Feeney in concert, joined by the Kilcar Community Singers at the Church of the Holy Family, Ardra, on Sunday 5th of October. All in aid of the Kevin Bell Repatriation Trust in memory of Jenna Shovlin. Tickets just €30 on Ticketmaster or local shops displaying the poster. That's Patrick Feeney in concert, Sunday 5th of October in Ardra.
Shekelatha ama Highland Radio. Arna Dortugat ag Eircode. Uproar agus forbor an go letrahas na Héireann. Eircode. Pobl a guachtu, era a guachtu. Teshe.
It's just about to turn 24 minutes past 11. It's Wednesday, which means we look forward to Highland Radio's Business Matters podcast, but not before we extract some business news from its presenter, Chris Ashmore. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Greg.
Rightio, Letterkenny Chamber are on it in terms of one of the biggest problems for businesses.
Yes, indeed. Scams. Now, a couple of facts just to start off with. The last couple of years, over €17 million has been lost by small and medium enterprises in this country through just email-related scams, and online card payments have accounted for some €37 million worth of fraud in the last year. So the threat of fraud touches us all. And Letterkenny Chamber of Commerce on Thursday, October the 9th, that's Thursday of next week, giving you a bit of advance notice. In the Century Complex in Letterkenny, they are having an event all about giving you advice on tips in relation to what to look out for. The event starts at 8:30 in the morning. By the way, there will be tea, coffee and pastries before the speakers get underway. The event is complimentary for Chamber members, but is open to everyone to attend. And look, this is a chance to stay ahead of the fraudsters. There'll be practical tips and insights from Audrey Doherty and John Heron from the AIB, who specialise in this area, and there'll be a representative from the fraud section of the Gardaí there as well. So look, if you're in business, this could save you. Who knows how much you could come across something and pick up something very much from this meeting. So well worth going to if you can.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff online too, but it's interesting. We've seen an increase in the circulation of dud sterling notes. And I was saying to Garda Grania when she was in, I don't know what a proper note looks like now. I mean, obviously there are ways you can test it. There's a little thing up in the top right hand corner that you can peel back, but you know, I just don't really handle an awful lot of cash, certainly not foreign currency, if I could label it as such. Right, International Women's Bloomin' Hell, another Women's Day.
Yes.
Can I just say that's a joke, by the way?
Thursday, 16th of October, Greg, mark it in your diary. It's National Women's Enterprise Day. So here in Donegal, the local enterprise office hosting an event in the Mount Errigal Hotel. And Orla Hassan, who's a transformational coach, she'll be there. A number of speakers. There'll be a panel discussion with the likes of Olivia Finney from New Kid Coffee here in Letterkenny. Sally Murphy of Well Told involved in the network, and Caroline McLaughlin from Morgan Stanley. There'll be a networking session with Miranda Rosenberg. So lots going on there, and you can register through the local enterprise office for that event. Great chance for people to network in that as well.
Yeah, for sure. Always good to be looking to expand markets or see where you can sell your products or your services into. Perhaps never more so now, you know, with the imposition of tariffs, and maybe this is an opportunity to get along to the Northwest Business Summit. It might tick some of those boxes.
Yes, now this is the second such Northwest Business Summit, and it's going to be all about looking at Asia. There'll be a panel. They'll be looking at AI investment, global trade strategy, and essentially for people in this part of the world who may be looking to get into the Asian market. So it's been hosted in partnership with the ATU and supported by Donegal County Council, Technology Ireland, the Small Firms Association and Letterkenny Chamber, 23rd of October. And you can register online for that. It takes place in the Radisson Blue Hotel in Letterkenny.
Let's get on to the podcast. Purple Velvet, delicious stuff. Had it before.
Yes.
And this forms part of your podcast.
Indeed. My guest this week, Diane Nesbitt, who founded Purple Velvet. Now, nice little story behind this. She'd worked in the fashion industry, lives in Glenmaquin, just outside Letterkenny, between Letterkenny and Convoy. During COVID, was at home, had a lot of time on her hand. She started to make some cupcakes, got good reaction. Now, that's not that long ago, Greg. She now employs 11 people.
It's really impressive. That's a very significant business.
Yeah, in just a short space.
People,
11. So she does bespoke, be it birthday cakes, special occasion cakes, all sorts of cookies and treats. And she has a...
And where are they?
And well, now she has the purple.
No, I'm on about where. Surely you brought some of the products for me to eat.
I'll show you them online later.
I'll lick the screen. Can I lick your laptop? Again.
So Purple Velvet. Initially, it was just local people. She got the orders, and it gradually grew and grew organically. And then she opened up a coffee outlet on the side of the road in the Ballyrain area of Letterkenny, which does great business. There's a range of 21 different treats that she does there. She supplies coffee shops and outlets throughout the county. Also has an app and gets a lot of online orders. But, you know, a great example of somebody who started small, got a really good product, and the fact that she has created those jobs, it's quite a story. And we have a couple of clips, and very much a people person as well.
Networking through business and networking through different female entrepreneurs was something that was very new to me, and I'm very much a head down, get the work done kind of person, and I would have been the first person to say I don't have time to be running to do that or to meet with those people, or that is the one thing that you cannot invest enough time in, is actually networking. It's amazing, and you will learn so much. It doesn't matter where you go, you'll always come away with nuggets that you're going, I actually didn't think on that way. And again, as much as it's great to hear about people's successes, success never comes without failure. You know, and even for us talking, yes, we have this lovely successful story, and it has been a world one, but there's been lots of different things that I have tried and tested within those 5 years that didn't work. So I always think I like to learn from people's failures as well as their successes. And we're very lucky in Donegal because, you know, we have the Donegal Women in Business. There's different things out there.
Seems to be a common message from entrepreneurs and famous commentary from the likes of Richard Branson and what have you, that you do have to stumble on your way to success sometimes. That's where you learn.
Yeah, so much is word of mouth, and you could go to an event and you just don't know who you're going to meet. You don't know what doors it's going to open. So she's a big fan of networking and getting out there. Also, over the short period of time that she's been in business, obviously there's been challenges. One of them, and we'll hear about this now in a moment, is the cost of inputs has gone up so much. So that was one of the things. She uses Belgian chocolate, and she had to decide when the price went way up, how do you adjust your your price. You have to be careful. You don't want to put off customers. And then, as she mentions in the clip as well, people are used to getting a certain product and they don't want to notice a change in the taste. So that's included in this next clip, along with a couple of other good points.
Anyone that has ever heard me talk, or anyone that knows me, is something that I always say, especially when I'm talking within business, is you can have the best product or service in the world, but people buy people. And I think that's something for us that has been very evident. If you treat people right, good things naturally happen around you. So whether that is your staff, whether it is your customer, no matter what it is, and right down to whenever we are choosing the ingredients, the customer is at the forefront of our mind all the time. And it's something that we really had to look at whenever there was an increase in prices. Like, for example, 10 kilos of chocolate. When we started out in the business, we use the best Belgian chocolate that we can physically source and get our hands on. So 10 kilos back then was costing us €84. Today it costs us €189 for 10 kilos. So at that point I had a choice to make. I'm like, do we go for a lesser grade chocolate and, try and retain the price for the customer? And in the end I played around or whatever, but that was, the customer then was getting shortchanged because they've got used to a level as well, and a level of the standard of ingredient. So the other side of it is I couldn't pass that cost on to that extent. So you're sitting there going, right, okay, we're having to run a business, we're having to pay the bills, but what do we do? So we met it in the middle. So we didn't pass the full cost. So we took a hit as a business on that. But then what we'd done by doing that, we naturally, organically grew the business and increased the sales. So that absorbed that shortfall. So that was the right thing to do by the customer, and it paid off.
Interesting fork in the road moment there, and choosing the right path. Obviously, good business acumen, Chris.
Yes, and she's a very interesting person to talk to. She has plans ahead, which, based on the way things have gone the last few years, I suspect strongly that she will continue to employ not just 11 people, but more in the future.
Right, the full interview is available on the podcast, which is going up today. So you can listen to that at your leisure from today. Just go to our website, go to the playback section where you get the podcast of this show, the school show, DL debate, etc., and Chris's show there as well. A lot of on-demand stuff actually here from Highland Radio, by the way. Just something we perhaps don't push enough. But anyway, there you go. There's a lot of content there for you, from sport to business to current affairs and much more as well. And you can tune into the podcast on the radio. At that point, it will be a programme. It's on Sunday, right?
That's right, Greg. It's on Sunday following the news at 6 o'clock. So just after 6 o'clock on Sunday.
And if you want to contact Chris, business matters at highlandradio.com. Chat to you next Wednesday, all being well.
Thank you.
Back after the break.
Ready to upgrade your car? At Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town, we've got a great selection of makes and models to suit every budget. With flexible finance option and trade-ins welcome, upgrading has never been easier. Visit ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to see us at Shane Conley Cars, Drumlonagher, Donegal Town.
Right now, at B&Q, there's hundreds of prices cut in paint, flooring and building to make DIY cheaper. You can do it when you B&Q it. Prices held, dates vary. See DIY.ie for details. Subject to availability.
A water conservation order continues to be in place in the Milford area until October 13th to safeguard the water supply for essential purposes. This order follows many months of dry weather, putting the water source under stress. Please do not use a hosepipe or sprinkler and conserve water wherever you can. Together, we can safeguard our water resources. Learn more at water.ie/WCO. Uisce Éireann, delivering water services for Ireland.
October is here and things are getting spooky at your local Maple store. Stock up on all your favourite autumn snacks, warm treats and Halloween goodies. And don't forget to call in store to collect your Halloween colouring competition sheets for a chance to win spectacular prizes. Visit Maple Express Burton Port, Derrybeg, Ballyliffin, Moville or your local Maple store. Keeping it fresh, local and convenient. Follow your local Maple store on Facebook for more.
Now, 086 60 25,000, that's the WhatsApp and text number, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. I mention it so frequently because we love to hear from you, and we often do, which is great. Right, now you heard me mention this at the top of the programme, that the man convicted of raping and murdering Donegal woman Danielle McLaughlin is seeking a suspension of his life sentence until the High Court in Bombay, India decides on his appeal. That decision is due around about October 13th, though we do know these dates can slip. Andrea Brannigan is Danielle's mother and joins me on the programme now. Thanks for chatting to me, Andrea.
No problem at all.
When we spoke to you just after the conviction of this person, Bhagat, I think, there was a knowledge between you and your legal team and that, there is a process still to be gone through, that an appeal was likely. Did you anticipate, though, that part of that process might involve this person being out on the streets again?
No, I didn't realise that they could even ask for this when the appeal was going on. I knew they appealed, but I didn't think they could ask for this part of it, that he would be let go until the appeal's heard. And the appeal hearing could take a couple of years.
Which is just unimaginable, isn't it? I mean, that doesn't make sense. How could someone who's been found guilty of such an awful crime exploit the law effectively by being able to do it again whilst appealing that conviction? That obviously there must be some provision for it in law over there, but it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense to me at all, because he got out on bail the day that he killed Danielle. And so he's been in now for over 8 years. So what's he going to do now this time? You know what I mean? I believe that he either could abscond or he could do it again.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, he knows the weight of evidence against him. Why would you hang about to spend the rest of your life in prison potentially? I'm not in any way saying that's what I would do, but that's the concern I would have. And Andrea, this is another date, and I tried to articulate this at the start of the show, just when we would hope that maybe you can get a bit of space to sort of process things and move forward. This is another date now, mid-October. You're living in this suspense now, not knowing what's it. Have you learned to cope with it, Andrea, or is it an absolute nightmare for you?
No, I really didn't expect this. Like, I was told about the appeal, that he did appeal, but I thought, oh, that's all right. That's a couple of years down the road. It's nothing to worry about. So I was trying to blank it out, and then I got informed then at the weekend then that they're hearing it's the 13th of October for him to get out until the appeal's heard.
Is there the hope that this case is so high profile, and to some extent the Indian judiciary was on trial as well, that they will refuse it? Is that the hope of hopes?
That's my hopes.
Yeah.
But I'm still waiting I haven't heard from anybody. I'm waiting to hear this week what they think could happen. Like, the embassies are all trying to get out. Nobody expected this. So they're all trying to find out now what's going on, what's happening.
Do you have right to sort of legal representation at the hearing on October 13th?
That's what they're all trying to find out as well.
Yeah. See, this is the problem. You're always in the blooming dark because of the system and because of the distance between here and there.
So, literally, the embassy, the UK and Irish embassy, both on Sunday, Monday, they both tried to find out, but they're waiting on word now back from Monday with the time difference and all.
Yeah,
and I'm hoping to hear either today or tomorrow.
Obviously governments or embassies aren't going to directly interfere in a criminal case, but I think they certainly could make submissions to state that this is dangerous, this is not the right thing to do. I think you need backing on this, Andrea.
They can't intervene, but they can attend.
Yeah, okay. Well, even
for them to attend would, I'd say, look good for me, because it shows that she's still getting represented. She's not forgot about,
exactly, yeah. Okay, well, what can we do other than wait till October 13th? I hope you're successful in at least getting a presence in the court, on the hope that they don't believe over there that this can be brushed under the carpet or anything. And maybe that's not even the motivation, but in the absence of knowledge, your mind goes to the worst places, Andrea. And I'm a bystander. I'm watching on, so I can only imagine.
Well, I know, with him, he's done a lot of crimes in jail, so I'm hoping that this kind of go in our favour.
Right, okay.
Only recently, about 2 months ago, he was caught sending threats via text.
What a nasty.
two witnesses on another case, nothing to do with him.
Okay, right. Well then.
So I'm
fingers
hoping,
crossed.
like, and then him starting riots and all different things. I'm hoping these all kind of go in my favour and it helps him knock it out.
Right. Well, we're sharing those wishes with you, and obviously thinking on you and the rest of the family, Andrea. We'll keep an eye on it. Thanks for joining me this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Thank
look
you very
after
much for the
yourself,
time.
Andrea.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Right, that's Andrea Brannigan there, who is obviously Danielle's mother. She's waiting now in this vacuum once again to find out on October 13th if Bagat will be released as he appeals that conviction. The appeal could take a number of years, so the threat is that he could be out on the streets. Now, not only is he responsible for the brutal murder and assault of Danielle, as you heard from Andrea too, he's a very unpleasant character beyond that, in terms of intimidating witnesses, trying to influence witnesses, and disturbances in jail. So you would hope, in prison, you would hope that that goes against him and he remains behind closed doors, so he can't do the same to somebody else that he did to our Danielle. Right, moving on now, and just back to the issue of tourism and facilities and what have you. A caller says, in relation to your topic discussed a few weeks ago on public toilets, I attended Listowel races and had to use the facilities of public toilets in over 5 different towns in Kerry. I was very impressed. None of these toilets were Portaloos, rather solid buildings, hot water, toilet paper. Wish we had this facility to offer in Donegal. Maybe we should learn from Kerry. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? What might be happening down in Kerry, and the pressure that might be on the powers that be to do the right thing from certain representatives down there. Staying with tourism, it's almost like the government's trying to self-destruct this country. Cost of living through the roof, people taxed to the hilt, dumping ground of the EU for data centres, though there's less interest in data centres here now. Planning on shutting down the Airbnbs, hotels full of migrants, so no room at the inn. Okay. No tourists, local business, pub, cafes, restaurants, shops unable to survive because of no tourists, completely dependent on US companies, which is under threat at the expense of local businesses. Tourism, farming, etc. Nothing the government is doing makes sense. Last one, if the VAT rate is reduced, when will we see the prices on the menu in hotels and pubs drop? You see, this is the thing. The whole idea, Noel, is not that it makes it cheaper necessarily per se for you to go in. It's that it actually makes the business viable. So the VAT rate, if it goes down to 9%, it doesn't mean everything goes down to 9% because the profit margins also go down. The idea, I presume, is that makes their high electricity bills some of the highest in Europe, the highest input costs, again, some of the highest in Europe, the relatively high, although this is an area that I think it's important people are paid a wage, but the high level of wage here compared to competitive or other markets, the VAT and tax on food and booze, the cost of getting Sky Sports in, the cost of insurance, all costs that are far in excess of what you might see in competing European countries. So, no, the VAT rate, I don't think there's any promise or commitment that it gets passed on. It just means that those businesses are there to hire our families and bring money into the area. All right, I'm going to speak to Harry after these messages.
At FBD Insurance, we've been supporting businesses across Donegal, Sligo and beyond for over 50 years. Pop into your local insurance experts in the FBD branch on Main Street, Letterkenny, or contact us on 074 912 6299 and see how we can support your business today. Open from 9:30am to 5pm Monday to Friday. FBD Insurance. Support. It's what we do. Business insurance is underwritten by FBD Insurance plc. FBD Insurance Group Limited, trading as FBD Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware. With stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre, or online at ormccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice, whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
When you hear these names, you'll think tries and tackles. But off the pitch, Jamison Gibson Park surfs. Tygburn bakes. And Ryan Baird fishes. Game-changing talent isn't always what you expect. Just like Vodafone Business. We're experts in more than you might think, with cybersecurity, cloud solutions, and collaboration tools, so your business can change the game. Search Your Business Can.
Autumn is alive with a kaleidoscope of colour, nature and adventure at National Trust NI. Unwind and relax with a crunchy leaf walk through Llewellyn Garden. Sample the finest seasonal food at Florence Court's Harvest Fair. Gaze into the majestic mirror-like lake at Mount Stewart. And breathe in the beautiful garden at Castle Ward. Or delight with frightful fun on one of our trails this Halloween half-term. Come along and make wonderful memories this autumn. Search National Trust NI today.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Refresh your wardrobe this season with key autumn-winter essentials. Discover our extensive range of fashion, accessories, homeware and more in-store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
Cloudy today with scattered outbreaks of rain and drizzle. Highest temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees. Just a reminder for you, there might well be some weather warnings, whether they're yellow or whatever they might be. Things are going to get wet and very windy on Friday through Saturday, easing on Sunday. We're looking at potentially strong to near gale force and gusty southwesterly winds. So I'm only saying it in case there's stuff that maybe you need to bring in or put away or whatever. Or maybe you want your neighbours to have the trampoline. That's up to you. Right. Harry's with me now. Henry, you're of the view that we're pricing ourselves out of tourism effectively. Give me your views, please. Thank you.
Well, basically all I can say, I mean, I knew myself because I go regular to Donegal that how expensive it would be if you were to bring back my daughter and 2 grandchildren, which are done, I think it was 2023. I was well aware of the prices. I mean, the cottage we rented was not overpriced compared to other properties in the area. I mean, hotels were completely off the radio price-wise, but we were happy. We got a good, clean cottage, and as I say, I was aware of how much it would cost, and obviously we would do a shop. And I even said to my daughter, I says, don't be buying too much, because when you go out here in the morning, if you go anywhere, you'll be having lunch out and you'll be having dinner out by the time you travel 30, 40 miles to some function or an excursion that we were doing. But between the price of the car, everything, that the rental, I mean, and spending money for 10 days, it was well over £6,000.
What? £6,000 sterling?
Yes, £6,000.
How many of you, Henry?
Myself and my daughter and 2 grandchildren. But the place we rented, plus the car, flights from England was in the region of about 2,700 before we started doing anything, you know.
Okay.
I think my wife was very ill for years, which sadly she's passed.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I always wanted to bring my grandkids back just to show them the culture, because my parents were from Donegal, and that was the main reason. As I say, I'm not complaining about it, because I'm just saying that...
No, you're putting a figure on it. So for 10 days, 2 adults, 2 kids, effectively, did you say 6 or 7?
Well,
Sorry, over 6. I was so shocked.
Yeah, well, that was roughly around the region. You could probably take 1,000 of that off that, because we in the middle of it there was a wedding, and we obviously couldn't stop in the rental accommodation on that particular night, because I would have a few beers and I was the only driver.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you took 1,000 of that off because of the hotel and different things that we were doing. But that was basically it. But all I'm saying is that a lot of people couldn't afford to do that. I mean, I'm not saying I was well off or something, but I could afford to do them. I was well aware of the price. But when I come back and I'm talking to people, and they say, "Oh, I'd love to go to Ireland," but some of them have been, and they'd say it's very expensive, very food's lovely, and all the rest of it. But it's just that expensive to go to, especially
also there are options. You see, that's the problem. You know, nowadays you can fly wherever the hell you like. You know, you can look at a package holiday in Spain or Portugal. Maybe look at the weather. You know, 6,000. I mean, you're in cruise territory there, aren't you?
Well, more or less you are. I mean, that's what I was more or less comparing it to package holidays, all exclusives that I've done before in the past. and you were guaranteed the weather wherever we were going, whether it be Spain or Portugal. Obviously, going back to Ireland, you're not guaranteed the weather. It could be summertime. But I remember as kids, we would go back for 6 weeks when the school broke up, and it seemed to go off with sunshine. But and you would be stopping with your grandparents, and it wasn't costing anything, like, really. But as I say, I'm not complaining about it. I'm just saying this is what we
yeah. This is the reality. You're just outlining the reality of your experience, which is...
Yeah. Well, I was at a funeral there about 6 months ago, and I was chatting to this lad, and we grew up together at the same junior schools, and his parents used to take them back as well. And I just said, do you go back there very often now? He says, I couldn't afford to go back there now. He says, if I do go back, I'll go back on my own. He says, and I'll get stopping a relation or something, because overall, he said, it would be too expensive to bring the family, you know.
All right,
and he
listen,
said,
it's a fascinating insight, Henry, and it's quite clear you're not criticising it, you're not giving out, you're just saying that's the reality of a relatively, like, I mean, it's not like there were 50 of you, there was 4 of you. Okay, Henry, listen, thanks for that. Where do you listen to us daily, do you, Henry, or...?
Obviously, I might be at work during the day. I'm off this week because I think I've got a bit of flu or COVID or man flu, call it whatever you like. But normally I listen to in the evening. I put it on back on YouTube. It saves watching all the repeats that you get on the BBC and the ITV.
You're damn right. And I'm not looking for any licensed payer money. You can head to the chemist now and get yourself some man-up pills, Henry.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I loved the ball, and I wanted the grandkids to see it, and to show them around. I didn't begrudge them when I'm talking about the money I've spent. I didn't begrudge them.
No, and I know there was something a bit more deeper in that trip between you and your grandkids, and also I know I can sense that whatever it was worth it to you, because it was not just a holiday. There was something else going on there. So I'm glad you have the memories. As you said, you're not complaining. You're just laying the facts out there. There's something for you to compare it to. Now, you were getting 200 a night for 4 people. You can see why hotels wouldn't have been an option.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, that was ruled out straight away. Like, that was definitely straight away. Because when you go in, it's exclusive. There's always a swimming pool and everything, and that's what I started looking at. But I mean, as soon as I looked at some, I'm not going to name the hotels, but they had pools. It was just you couldn't even look at it, like, you know.
Yeah, okay.
But listen, I mean, when I come home from work, I rarely miss Ireland. I always watch it on the YouTube in the evenings, and because I find the vast majority of the topics are very interesting. Good. I love the debates, and yourself and the team are doing a great job.
Lovely, Henry. Listen, that's really nice of you. Thank you so much. I hope you get well soon, and I hope everything generally is going well for you. And we really appreciate you listening. And it's I'm not glad that you're not well, but you'll be okay. But it's nice to be able to speak to you live, Henry. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem, Greg.
Good man, Henry. Take care of yourself. That's Henry there. Lovely man. No, I don't have a break to go, so I have comments, which is great. If a crime is in progress, come in and arrest the perpetrators, and don't give them advance warning by arriving with sirens wailing. It would appear that Gardaí do not want to catch the criminals, which is why antisocial behaviour is at an all-time high. I'm going to disagree with you on this. If I were in the corner of a park and someone was at me with a knife, or even threatening me with a knife, I'll be honest with you, them being discouraged from stabbing me or running off would be more important to the Gardaí sneaking in and catching them. And I'm just being, all I can ever be on this show is honest, and that's me being completely honest. I would want sirens going, lights going, and I'd want whoever was about to stab me, preferably arrested, but in the first instance discouraged from plunging that knife into me. Back to diffing. In a controlled environment, diffing is not dangerous, but the public should not be expected to fund this. There are a small number of cars specifically adapted for this and are not road legal, but the point that is being continuously ignored is that people are modifying their everyday cars, which means they are no longer insured for the road. That's a broad stroke. I get where you're coming from, but some of the people we're talking to aren't even of age to legally drive on the road. Coastal flooding. Coastal flooding are all exacerbated by historic mistakes locally by having facilitators rather than regulators. In Ballybofey and Letterkenny were to flood tomorrow. Does anyone know where the water is going to actually end up and in which sitting rooms? Think of when building a dike on the sand shore as a child. Fill here, the water goes there. Read what you sow, folks. Insurance companies' overreaction for mistakes already made. Back to Diffin. I bet the differs are a lot safer on the roads than the complainers who cannot stand anyone doing anything. I appreciate that. Just on the noise comment in Thorndale, when the diffing is on, that would be coming from King of the Cone in Bonnagee, not the more rural Ferry's Yard. Another one, good morning. Why can the cars not go to Manor and the halfway racetrack? Thanks. And now a mixture. On divorce, the Laura Dowling Experience is a podcast on divorce. It's very informative and worth a listen. You can get it on Spotify streaming services, also I think on YouTube. On buses, why is there still no proper Letterkenny Town bus service? It was promised early last year for 2025. Now it's late 25 and nothing. We might do a follow-up on that, actually. I think that's an interesting question. Can you have Patrick McGowan come on to explain what's happening with the state of all roads in Castlefin and Ballybofey and Stranraer? Their services is like the moon. Do you know what? Whether it's Patrick or somebody else, what is going on with roads in that electoral area, in the Finn Valley area? I attended, hundreds of council meetings over the years, and often reps in that area felt they were the poor cousin with the way money was distributed. But you know what? A lot of people are complaining about the roads in that area. It's our duty, our job to sort of have a conversation about that and figure it out. But a caller says Glenties to Letterkenny, that road is third world standards. All right, and on it goes. Thank you for all of your comments. Any you didn't get to, of course, we'll bring to you tomorrow. Thursday show, Wednesday, gone. It's in the bin. But we'll be back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock for me, Greg Hughes, and Caroline, who researched and produced the show.